Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic, and welcome to the Chosen of Valhalla stream for September and episode, 186 now of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. So thank you all very much for being here. I am joined by a wonderful group of people, and I will start off by introducing them, starting with the modern major general of the channel herself. She is, of course, Laura Story. Laura, how's it going?
Hello. Hello. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Football is on, so we got that going for us.
Yes, indeed.
Trying to be positive.
Absolutely.
As positive as possible.
Gotta be as positive as we can. And so because of football, Laura is only going to be with us for maybe about an hour or so. And so I just wanted to make sure I was able to start off with her and just, anything going on right now that you want to talk about, or anything that is something that you think is worthy of discussion?
Worthy of discussion. That's a high bar.
It is, yes.
Is anybody here really into Pink Floyd? I had a roommate in college who was super into it, and tried relentlessly to drag me into the music. I found a lot of it just overly dark, and I wasn't in college. I wasn't in that state of mind, But the new Dune trailer, they used one of Pink Floyd's really famous songs. It's kind of like the end song on one of their concept albums.
Yeah.
So the entire album has all of these deep themes, and I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out with the Dune trailer is did they just use that song because it's kind of an interesting song, it's very dramatic, or is there some kind of theme in that album that the director is trying to, overlay over the top of the movie? So
yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but
yeah, it's always interesting when you talk about trailers because there is obviously a lot of people behind the scenes who are cutting that trailer together. The marketing department obviously chose that song for a reason. So yeah, it's good questions to ask about, was that a choice made by the director, who we all know is one of my all-time favorites, Denis Villeneuve? And, was that his choice, or was that the marketing team? Because what's interesting is that, and I didn't know this until I was doing more research, that Hans Zimmer is going to be doing the score for Dune.
Oh,
so
love him.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that one of the last trailers that we get before the movie, we get a little taste of a Hans Zimmer score, because as we all know, he's just very, very, as far as modern music goes, he's become very iconic. Mostly, I would say Inception is the one that he's most known for, as far as having the most impact. But yeah, I mean, I thought the trailer was very interesting. And, I've said this before, I'm not sold totally on the story yet because I've seen the movie, and I just don't think that was the best way for me to be introduced to the story. But I am still excited for the movie. I know you do. It was just not my cup of tea. So I am still intrigued by it.
It's so 80s, though. I mean, I was a teenager in the 80s, and I was so into Sting and Police, and it has a whole 80s kind of vibe to it because everything is so over the top. I mean, the costumes, the characters, it's still.
Steve, you just said 80s. You completely lost.
That's true.
Odin.
Yep,
you
that's
said
true.
80s. You completely lost Odin.
Yep, that's when it went over my shiny head. Yeah.
Oh God! Please tell me you've heard of the Police.
I have heard of them. Yes. If you asked me to name a song by them, I wouldn't be able to, but I've heard of them.
Oh my God.
Now, if you were to play me a song and say this is the most well-known, I'd play. Oh yeah, I'd probably recognize it, but
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad, isn't it, Laura?
Oh, they had one of the most well-known stalkerish songs of all time. I mean,
I think because Odin is so wise, I always assume he is older than he is, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he's only a few years younger than me, and I know a lot about the 80s. He's just lazy.
It's don't let the beard fool you. There's a lot of things
Maybe
I don't know.
Beard.
It must be.
Blame the beard.
Exactly.
But the only so from what I've been able to gather, just looking through Google or whatever, is apparently a lot of people ran to YouTube to watch a video of that song. It's called Eclipse, to try to figure out, what is this all about. I mean, the whole theme of the album is, you can live a life where you just kind of go with the flow and you're just kind of relaxed, and you can end up having a horrible life at the end. Or you can be the kind of person who, is very out there and active and, trying to blaze their own path and, still end up, having a horrible life at the end, going crazy, kind of losing everything that you've worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Eclipse song is about. It's listing off like everything you've done in your life, all you've achieved, everything you are. At the end, it's just it's either meaningless or life is going to happen. No matter what you do, life is going to happen the way that it's going to happen. So it's too complex for me, for my mind, to try to break all of this down. But that's just kind of what I've gathered just with a quick little research.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't recognize the song right away, and it was a like a variation of the song, right? It wasn't the original song they were playing.
No, I think it was.
Oh, okay, it was. Interesting.
Yeah, it's slow like that. I mean, they might have slowed it a little, but
okay,
that's kind of how the song goes.
Yeah, because modern Hollywood is very, very fond of now, especially in trailers, taking like older songs or classic songs and then doing a different rendition of it. And so that's why when I was hearing the music and everyone was talking about Pink Floyd, I was like, I didn't recognize anything Pink Floyd specifically. I'm not an expert on them, per se, but I thought maybe they did a different rendition of the song, but maybe they didn't.
Yeah, because in the actually, now that I think about it, in the book, the main character Paul, he's constantly trying to find his way, and even though he can see the future, he gets glimpses of his future. Like he knows, who his wife is going to be. He knows he's going to end up on that planet. But there are times where he makes decisions and he kind of can't see the future anymore. So I guess that's kind of where he's going with that.
Okay. But, interesting. Yeah, a couple people have addressed this. So Super Anime Gamer's here. He says, to answer Laura's question, the theory I heard is they chose Eclipse because Jodorowsky's unmade Dune movie was supposed to have a Pink Floyd soundtrack.
Oh.
That would be interesting.
That is interesting.
And that would be a nice connection. And then Andrew Hoyle, who's a member on the channel, says Hans Zimmer did a remix of the song for the trailer. So that seems to answer that question. Okay. Nice to get.
Yeah, Toto did the 80s version. Toto did the music for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, very, very cool. Well, yeah, absolutely. Dune is something that I'm assuming will probably come back up in our discussion. But Laura, thank you so much for being here. And we'll of course try and get you in as much as possible within the next, I guess, still about 50 minutes or so while we still got you here. So
the daughter's never on time, so
well, thank you.
It's gonna happen when it happens.
Absolutely. All right, so we also have got some other great people on the panel today, and so we'll start off now going from left to right on my screen. So Mr. Roy is back. How's it going, Mr. Roy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm back home. I'm doing okay. I'm not sick.
That's good.
Yeah,
so it's always good to be healthy.
Yeah.
What you been up to? Anything fun?
Not really. Just laying around, not doing much. Just waiting for a new job to come up.
Okay. Well, that's always a good thing, though, is sometimes just to get to relax a little bit, lay back.
Yeah, because right now I'm just doing temporary work, so it'll be a job that lasts a week, and then it's off time, and you do another job, and another job. And
okay.
Yeah, just waiting right now.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Always glad to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. We also have Rosetta Allen. Rosetta, how's it going?
Hello. Exhausted.
Exhausted, but
Very
productive. Exhausted, but it's because of being productive, right?
Definitely working a lot right now. I finished the cover for the colors for a variant for Alaz. I've been working on the Eagle book as much as I can. I've been working on hiring people for the other custom art we're going to do for my Eagle book. I am working on a new cover job I got, which will be for Tilt, and actually just started it last night.
Nice. Let me go ahead and boost that a bit. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I'm just coming up with concepts right now for the final later, but Yeah, working, and since I'm in the mountains with my family, a lot of hiking and time out in the woods and stuff like that. So
It's always good to be around nature, that's for sure. Especially with everything going on in the world. It's nice to have, some nice fresh air to breathe in the forest.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Although there's not just fires in Cali, so we still get smoke some days because there's a lot of freaking smoke from Wyoming and Montana too.
Oh Lord, yeah. I know that there's fires all over, and it's amazing. Like they've been showing the maps of all the fires going on, and I don't know if it's because it's our country and we don't really follow other countries, but the maps have it where as soon as it gets to like the Canadian border, it cuts off completely, and there's no fires anymore. And then as soon as you get to like the middle of the country, like the fires stop, and it's just like basically everything is just cornered in this one part of the country. It's very bizarre for me, at least.
It's not actually that uncommon though, for some reason. Fires have always kind of been more common up in this realm, and the woods in the south aren't as often.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not that it's uncommon, but it's just that the way it looks on a map is just like, that's kind of interesting how it like cuts off in this specific location and not so much elsewhere.
large parts of the West Coast are national parks. I mean, you have huge swaths of area. If you look at a map of the United States, when you get to the west, I mean, it's just like on the drive to Tahoe, you go through 2 or 3 national parks.
Oh wow!
It's just trees everywhere. So.
Yeah.
I'm in a national park right now, so I get that.
Oh,
nice.
Okay.
I'm in the Black Hills.
Oh.
And there's a kitty behind you that I saw.
I saw the kitty. Oh.
One right there too.
Oh, I didn't see the other one in the back.
It's up there.
Oh, little kitty. I like how the one little kitty is looking out the window like, yes, I own this place. This is mine.
Oh no, they love that window perch because we're in the woods and the meadow larks and quail and turkeys and stuff like to wander around under that window.
Oh, so they're hungry. That's what it really is.
Yeah, you could say that. I
want these birds in my belly. That's what they're saying. Or at the very least, I want to play with these birds.
I want to break it.
I want to break it. Or Rosetta, thank you for being here, joining us once again from the mountains. Always great to have you here. All right. We also have joining us once again. Last time he was here, he launched an album, and he was talking to us earlier about how it's been doing pretty well based on the stats he's been getting back. And he is, of course, ZK-Man. ZK-Man, how's it going, good sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Hope everybody else is doing great.
Very, very cool. How you been doing the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Pretty much trying to survive in Silent Hill. Or at least that's the way it looks outside right now.
Oh my God.
Somebody forgot to turn on the sirens before it transferred over to the thing, but...
Wow, yeah, because that's right. You're West Coast as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, the fires are far enough away that I don't have to deal with them, but you still got all the smoke coming in with the wind and all.
Oh yeah, and I remember I mentioned this a couple weeks ago as well, that before the fires got even as bad as they are now, people were reporting that if you notice at sunset or sunrise certain colors in the sky, it's because that when you look at the smoke and you look at just how the currents work, that technically some of the smoke has actually been able to get like all the way to like even Tennessee area, which is just insane to me when you think about just how all that stuff works and just how much smoke we're dealing with here in these different locations.
Oh yeah, it's definitely because it was just a few days ago that looking up at the sky when we still could see the sun, it was real red.
Wow. Yeah, and I know that we were talking this, and everyone's been, I'm sure, seeing it on social media about how everything in the West Coast, it looks like just Blade Runner. Like, it just looks like, specifically Blade Runner 2049 with that more orange hue to it. And there's been some really interesting videos being taken. And, I was saying before, right, that, yeah, it's one of these things where it's really terrible and we have to obviously try and do everything we can to limit it and save as much, life as possible. But sometimes you have to find the good. Sometimes you have to find something positive. And I don't know, there's something kind of cool about it as well, right? It's kind of like that storm mentality where storms are going to cause a lot of damage, but there's also a beauty to storms too in this weird way. So you were also having the Blade Runner looking outside as well.
Yeah, pretty much that's how it was at the beginning. Now it's, I guess, because we're not as bad as California,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of tapered off a little bit, and now it's more of like a gray haze, and that's pretty much the reason why I came up with the Silent Hill
Mm-hmm.
references, because it between that and then uh, last night we started getting cooler temperatures, so you got the fog and all mixed in
Oh
with it as
wow.
well.
That's right. You don't even think about how the seasons are about to change because we're about to go into the 50s next week. We have a front coming through,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's the seasons are already starting to change, and so unfortunately, though, I think that's bad news for the West Coast because isn't it not technically even fire season yet right now?
I think it's, if it's not already, it's about to be, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping that somebody I work with said that they heard that we might have a chance of rain here within the next couple of days. So I'm
Mm.
kind of hoping that does hold true.
Yeah, absolutely. Get as much rain over there as possible because not only do you have the fires, but obviously y'all have been in what drought territory. At least I know California has been for years now, right, Laura?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's they had said that today we might get some relief because the offshore the ocean air
Mm.
might come over and clear out the area a little bit, push it unfortunately eastwards towards you guys. Sorry about that. But
Hey,
yeah, it doesn't rain a lot here now.
Mm. Yeah, it makes you kind of wish you had, we watch all these different shows and movies with superheroes. That's like, man, if we could just have someone that could create like huge gusts of wind to just blow out the fires, that'd be amazing. But sadly, we don't have that going on for us right now. But it is what it is. But K-Man, thank you so much for being here and for joining us once again for another stream. And of course, we'll talk more about your album and talk more about how that's been going and how people can continue to support your work as we continue to go through the stream.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have, last but certainly not least, she is one of the Valkyries. She is the Empress of the Universe. She should
Yes.
start her own YouTube channel, and
No.
one day we will cut the rants that she has had on
Nope.
various movies together
Nope.
and create
Nope.
her channel to
Nope.
get her jump started. And then we'll shout her out on Friday Night Tights and get her a bunch of
No.
subs to get it even more started off the right way. She is the wonderful, the beautiful Tina. How's it going, Tina?
I'm doing okay. I woke up early and I'm running behind this morning.
Oh no.
Did my went ahead and knocked my Greek lesson out. So later on, if I don't feel like it, I try to do it every day.
Mhm.
And I hate it when you go back. I'll go back in my notebook. I'll find a term I've used. I'll plug it in, and they'll tell me it's wrong, even though 2 days ago it was right.
Mhm. And
And that happened 3 times today. So I was getting very, very ticked off at Duolingo. Take that, Duolingo.
I'm impressed though, because Duolingo, I remember when it first started off, was very limited in its languages. So it has Greek now.
It has Greek. I think it has 40 languages.
Mm.
I just need to concentrate on Greek. I can't get into anything else.
Does it have Latin?
So yeah,
Ooh.
I took Spanish when I was in
Mhm.
high school. I had one year of it, and I can still count to 30 in Spanish for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway, no, things are good. Things are good.
Good.
So I see Soul Assassin's got Tina rants. I might rant later. It depends on how much of this whiskey sour I have and how fired up I get when I talk about one movie I saw. It wasn't the movie, it was where my thoughts went after I saw the movie.
Yeah,
It got me fired up.
I remember you mentioning saying, hey, by the way, the next time the stream comes around, I think I might have one ready. And I say, all right, I'm ready.
Oh, and that one, yeah, if I can remember what I was talking about.
Might have to just go back into the Twitter chat to see what we were talking about at that time.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. But anyway, everything is good. It's partly cloudy here. We're supposed to have a cold front heading our way too. Our fake Kentucky Derby was last Saturday. I have no idea what horse won and whether was the horse wearing a mask. I don't know. I saw the jockeys wearing them because I saw part of the Friday races, and this one jockey was wearing a mask, and I'm like, really? They're gonna make them wear a mask while they're riding on a horse? Like riding those horses isn't difficult enough.
Well, hey, if someone sneezes and they're ahead, then that is. And they'll say the reason why we have a huge.
Don't try to make a logical sense out of this. Don't try to make this logical. There's no logic.
We know where this latest outbreak happened, and it was because of the Kentucky Derby. And
yes.
And then you're like, wait, really? That's
exactly.
your origin? Okay, sure, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was just kind of weird. There was no parade, no steamboat race, none of the things that lead up to it. They didn't have any people there. The only people that could be at Churchill Downs were the owners, the jockeys, the trainers, and the horses.
Mm-hmm.
So it was. Yes, we're gonna run.
The horses are people now.
We're gonna run the fake derby without the horses. But it was just weird. I just kind of flipped by it, and I mean, not seeing any people in the infield or up in the stands. It was just it just didn't even feel right. I don't even know why they just didn't say, you know what, we're not going to run a derby this year. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
and it's been feeling that way too with football. Laura's watching the game today, and I remember seeing some clips from the opening first game, and I was like, they obviously are allowing some people in with these distancing, but I was like, is that really the only people that they can let in? I was looking at all the spacing and all the people, and I'm like, is it just that there's people that don't want to go, don't want to risk it, or is that just the actual number of max people that we can have in a stadium? Because it's interesting, and I was mentioning this last night on the stream, where the number one reason why, or rather the number two reason why people are not wanting to watch football or not interested in it is because there aren't fans, and because that fan reaction really does add a lot to the watching experience. And even as someone that's not a huge fan of football, I can definitely agree saying, yeah, it's weird to watch something happen where there's this huge play happening and then you hear nothing. Like, it just, even as a wrestling fan myself, when wrestling started to go back, they did the same thing where they had no fans, and it was the weirdest thing. And luckily, eventually they said, okay, let's get the wrestlers out there who aren't in the ring to at least get them to make some noise. And then it was like, okay, even with 20 people, it's so much better, because with no one, it's dead. It just doesn't. And I just read this morning in one of my little newsletters, I get to tell you, little hints and things. They said that I think at one of the NFL games, they have people cutouts up in the stands. And I was like, for real? So were the people cutouts, would they boo when they all, when the players all drop to their knees or whatever that crap is that they're doing? I was just gonna point out that it's really cute that he thinks that's actually wrestling. I mean, wrestling. Hey, that's what my grandparents called it, wrestling. It's professional. No, what's on the TV is not wrestling. That's people beating up each other. There's no actual skill there other than being violent. I would disagree, because there actually are legit. It's not wrestling by definition. Okay. I take your point, but I counter it by saying that they actually do get legit wrestlers to come in, like people that actually wrestled even for the Olympic teams or got close to wrestling for the Olympic teams to come in. I mean, Kurt Angle, great example of this. And when he would ever get into the ring, it's still not actual wrestling. But here's the thing, though, is that when that happens, though, when you have two different, because what they can do sometimes is that they have it where you actually have two legit wrestlers, people that wrestled in college or wrestled professionally. And when they get into the ring with each other, yeah, obviously there's still that staging element to it. But the matches they have are actually really impressive because they keep it mostly to what wrestling would actually look like. And there is actually, it brings it more of a sense of realism to it. Okay. So, not all the time. Most of it's not. The actual technicalities of what's supposed to be required in wrestling. Yeah. That never hits. You can have real wrestlers in it. And I'm not diminishing that they have skill in fighting and stuff. I'm saying it's not wrestling. Okay. Well, Odin, you sound like Will Gentry. It's not soccer. It's football. I grew up watching wrestling because they used to do a lot of it here at one of our
not stadiums, but it's one of those old auditoriums, and they would do it there.
Mm.
So when I saw Olympic wrestling for the first time, I was like, well, when are they going to bring the chairs out to hit each other over the head? And why isn't there a ring? And why is the referee not just standing there going, I didn't see anything? So it was like seeing real like Greek style wrestling.
You're just like,
I was like,
what?
This isn't anything like I'm used to seeing. So, oh my gosh. But anyway, no, I have no idea what's going on here in town. I do not look at the news. I know that the last interim chief of police resigned, and he was a nice guy. That I think that's the reason why he was like, no, the mayor is clamping my hands. The new interim police chief was a sergeant of mine at one time, ages ago. And but it won't make any difference. She's Black and she's a woman. It won't make any difference to them. They said they were already out marching, screaming Uncle Tom. So that's their mentality. It's like, no, we don't care there's a Black woman in there as the interim chief. I don't know.
It's the messaging. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter, how much things actually visibly get better, right? You could have it where, the president of the United States, right, is African American. You could have it where, there could be a point where you have like several different members of different ethnic communities on the Supreme Court, like we kind of have now. Doesn't matter, right? All that matters is what do they stand for and what do they believe in. And it's interesting how people that really want diversity have no desire for any diversity of opinion. It's like they want
absolutely
diversity for the sake of it. And really, it's not even diversity for the sake of it. They just want people that are going to say the right thing.
Yeah. And I remember when she was our sergeant, and then she got, took her exams and everything, got promoted to lieutenant. And about a year or so later, she was in the front office, part of the chief's office. And so it's been several years. I was kind of surprised, but our officers are retiring left and right. They're like, we're done. We're done. So, and I can't say I blame them because our mayor is an asswipe. He needs to be taken out in horsewhip. And, he's just going to let the city fall apart, and then he'll do that pretend campaign again like he did when he was up for re-election. And I didn't even know there was a mayor's race until I went to vote. And I'm like, we've got a mayor's race this year, because I saw his name on the ballot.
Wow.
He didn't debate. He didn't advertise. I wasn't going to vote for him anyway, but he pretty much just came out and said, I didn't think it really mattered. I figured I was going to get reelected anyway. What a prick.
Yeah. And I think that's, when someone like that is in power, that should motivate, because I don't know what letter's next to his name, but whatever letter is the opposite of in that area should be like, okay, I'm going to run against you just so that there's someone running against you. Like that's something where if someone just assumes that they're going to do well and assumes they're going to win, that's when you should have people saying, all right, let's at least talk about some ideas. And at least, that's why, I'm that person where, when someone's a president and then it becomes time for an election and no one runs against the president. Like I've never really liked that. I've always said, no, there should be at least someone who can say, hey, you know what, let's talk about ideas and at least have public debates so that we can show, even amongst this, specific party, because let's be honest, no political party is just an end all be all where it's like, oh, everyone believes the same thing. There's always differences of opinion in every party. And so, for me, it's like, you know what, I know that you might be supportive of the president, you might be supportive of this person being the one that likely would get the nomination anyway, but still, I think there should be debates, and even in parties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's about it. I've been doing a load of reading. On my Bookly app, it said I had hit 250 hours in reading, and I was like, yeah, I was doing quite a bit of it. So right now I'm reading a book by Victor David Hansen, who is a historian I highly recommend. I'm reading his book on the 30-year Peloponnesian Wars, and the book is called A War Like No Other, and it was a war between Greece and Sparta. I'm also reading, I've got an audio book that I'm listening to, and I wish I had this guy when I was in school. He's a philosophy teacher, but it's about the Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates, but he's so very lively. It's like there's things he's talking about that I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember us talking about that when I was in college, but it was kind of in one ear and out the other. So he's a really good teacher. So yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, very, very cool. Yeah, well, obviously we'll have more discussion when we talk about what things we've been watching, because you know Tina always brings the pain whenever we talk about movies. Because she is like, I am watching movies. I am going to be critiquing them. That's why she really should have her own channel as well, because she really has always brilliant insight into everything she talks about. And it's always great to hear those discussions. But Tina, thank you so much for joining us once again. And just one point more about wrestling, since it was brought up in conversation just a wee bit, right? It is interesting, though, with the whole dynamic of it, because I would argue that there are certain things wrestlers do that are even more impressive or more athletically challenging than what actual wrestling does. And one of my favorite references to this
Never
is...
said there isn't.
I never said you did either. I was just trying to point that out just for anyone that's interested.
I'm trying to explain to chat. I kind of think they didn't get what I was saying. I'm not putting it down when I say that. I'm saying it technically uses about 20 different fighting styles, and it's not really any of them.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So it's not technically wrestling.
Yeah,
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, we call things football, but, we have to be more specific with the language, right? So in here in the States, it's actually technically supposed to be American football, because football is a term that means what we call soccer, right? Here in the States. And then there's other sports, too, where we define it in a certain way, and it really isn't what we are currently defining it in. But one thing I do want to say, though, is there's a great South Park episode that deals with this very debate. So the kids on the show decide to start their own wrestling corporation. And it all stems from the fact that they are found out that there's going to be a new wrestling coach at school. And they sign up and they're like, yeah, wrestling. I can't wait to learn all this stuff. But the coach is an actual wrestling coach, not a WWE wrestling coach. And so all of a sudden they're seeing what he's wearing, and he's trying to teach them all the holds and everything. And they're like, what the hell is this? What are you doing? And of course, there's that one, because I actually wrestled for a year when I was younger. And there's that one where someone has to get down like on their hands and knees, and you have to like grab like the opposite hand and such. And so like he starts doing that to one of the guys, and they're like, what the hell is this? And obviously they make several other inappropriate comments about it, but it's a great episode.
I know what you're talking about with the movies, actually, because I actually wasn't wrestling.
Yeah. There's a couple of them where you're like, I get what you're trying to do with this, but it's a little off. So, Dark Shadow Logan says, YouTube is crashing your bandwidth. Odin, your stream keeps freezing up, and it's not a problem on my end. I will check out the video. It's I'm so sorry to hear that, Dark Shadow Logan. If anyone else is having issues, please let me know, because it might be your internet, Dark Shadow, if that is the case. But if anyone else is having issues, please do let us know in the chat. And speaking of the chat, let me go ahead and just say hello to the people that are here before going back around again. So Dark Shadow Logan, thank you so much for being here. Andrew Hoyle, member on the channel, for being here. ZK Man in the chat and on the panel, thank you for being here, good sir. Tina B in the chat also as well. Dean Approved is in the chat. We got Huron the Steadfast. We, of course, got Stephanie B, who is the general of the Valks, and she will not be here the entire show today. She's got important things to do, but thank you for being here for when you can, nonetheless. Lord Toth in the chat. How's it going? Lord Toth, member on the channel. G-Monkey76 in the chat. Peter Han in the chat. Hunka Chunka Funky Monkey in the chat. How's it going, Hunka Chunky?
He's making cracks at me.
Always. I'm surprised Will Gentry's not here yet. Let's see. Don't
say the name.
Don't say show. Will Gentry. You say his name 3 times, kind of like.
Oh my God, like Candyman.
I was just saying like Beetlejuice, but yeah, I mean, I guess that would work too. Let us see. Then that's Andrew Hoyle's comment about the song and how it came into be. Iron Vet in the chat. What's going on, Iron Vet? At 204, he says, just saw Tenet 10 net. Wow. Discussing it for hours, needs to be seen again. Absolutely. Whether you like it or hate it, it is a movie worthy of being discussed. That's for sure. Super says, hey, what is up, my dude? Wish I could stick around, but I've got some homework to do. Have to watch Casablanca and do some writing. Wish me luck. Oh, my gosh. What a terrible... the work you have to do, Super. Oh, my gosh. You have to watch Casablanca for homework? Oh, your life is so hard. It's so difficult. I actually, to be honest, Super, though, I miss those assignments because some people say, wait, you have to watch a movie for homework, but it's more than that, right? You have to watch it, and then normally you have to focus on a specific technical element. So for some movies, they would say, okay, look at the editing, write notes down. What do you see? What do you notice? And so it forces you to look at movies in a different way. And, you know, it's a cool way of looking at it because you can always sit back and enjoy films, but to analyze them is also a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy that assignment, Super. It sounds like fun. Soul Assassin in the chat as well. Force Ghost Jeremy in the chat. We also got, of course, Mr. Roy there as well. And let's see. Jeremy Swiggs says, I was making a joke the other day on the other stream, but it's true. You look like the main character from God of War now. P.S. You complete me. Well, Jeremy Swiggs, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I will take that as a major compliment. And all I have to say to you, Jeremy, is boy. Because obviously that's the only thing I know from God of War with that character. Alice McCarthy says, howdy, Odin. I have pizza. Love me some pizza. I actually had some leftover pizza for lunch today, and it was delightful. It was absolutely delightful. Alice McCarthy says, pizza report, great value pizza tastes almost as good as DiGiorno. I've never had that specifically, but if you say so. Andrew Hoyle says, I could post you some of the rainy weather from here in the UK if you need some. Yes, please, Andrew Hoyle. Send that rain specifically over to California and the West Coast. And yes, WB says, please don't send. Please, let's just be glad we don't have Homelander as a hero. That is true. Thank God we don't have any of those heroes from The Boys in real life, because that'd be terrible. Alex Carr then said WWE has virtual fans now. It's a huge improvement. I've seen that. So basically what they have is in the stands, they have it in a smaller arena, and now they just have video screens in every seat, and different fans are invited to basically like sign in and watch the match, and their faces are being shown as they're watching it and reacting to it live. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too.
yeah, because that's right, Mr. Roy. You've been watching it, right?
Yeah, and then they got in trouble because they weren't actually really keeping up with who was posting what. So there was a few cam shots of stuff that wasn't good for live TV.
You know, of course, like my thought goes to like those trolling fans and putting up things like, you know, AEW and, you know, things that like are trolling in that way. But then you think, I bet it was worse than that. And probably
I'm not gonna go into details. There's a lot of racial and like
oh no
really racist stuff. Yeah,
oh
pretty bad.
I will say yeah, it's
they also Crispin Wall showed up on one of them.
Oh no.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, I will say this much though, like, you know, the racial stuff, right? No, get that out of here. Like, there's no place for that ever. But the Chris Benoit thing, it's like, they really haven't directly addressed it in a long time. So you know what? I don't mind that one being shown as much. My favorite though was when Kenny Omega, who is a member of another wrestling organization, AEW, Kenny Omega showed up one night as well. And so there were so many screenshots showing Kenny Omega's face watching the WWE show. And I'm like, that's great. That's just meta and it's fantastic. Let's see. 70B had tagged me earlier and said, I saw a news blurb where Louisiana schools won't start until November. I don't know what part of Louisiana that is, because the city, New Orleans, and the Catholic schools there, at the very least, public schools are all up and running. But Lord, yeah, I can only imagine the places that have to go through that. 70B says, I should have read more. You'd be on vacay. Oh, she was saying I should read more on the story. I would still be on vacation if that was the case. Yeah, but you know what? I'm kind of glad we went back, because sometimes it's bad to have students out for that long of a period of time, because they are kind of, especially after they've gone into school for years and years, they're trained to have an end in sight for summer. And when they don't have that and they can't get those first weeks back, it's so hard to get them. And if you were to do November, I mean, you're going to have to give them time off for Thanksgiving. You're going to have to give them time off for Christmas. And so basically you're going to be fighting them still in summer mode, and not just summer mode, but like extremely lazy summer mode as well. Alice McCarthy says, I say nay, Odin, the pizza party is the end all and be all. Yes, I agree. Pizza party for president. Absolutely agree with you there for sure. Andrew Hoyle confirmed that the stream is fine. And he says he's in England and we have fancier internet over here. Andrew Hoyle, fancier, eh?
Oh, another British person being condescending. Not like we don't get enough of that with Gentry and Monkey, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I will say this much. Whenever we get anything from the Aussies, when the stream is fine on their end, I know that it has to be someone's personal internet that causes issues. Because if Australia can handle it with their upside-down internet, anyone can. Much love to the Aussies out there. And Hunka Chunky says...
I just have to point out,
go ahead.
If the internet is good here, it's good. Because I've been about a 600-person region in between several mountain passes.
Yes. If you can stream from the mountains, then people can watch the stream. And Hunka Chunky says, Roman does not reign. Can't believe they didn't turn him heel sooner. Did they not learn from The Rock's example? Yeah, I have not watched WWE or AEW in a long time, like months now. And I don't know if I'll get back in. AEW might get me back in, but I think I'm done with the WWE. So when I heard he turned heel, I was like, ugh, too little too late for me. All right. Josh Mansfield, thanks for being here as well. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started off with what we've been watching. So Laura, obviously I know that you've got roughly 20 minutes left or so. So what you been watching recently?
Is it really 20-1?
Just about. Or it's 20-3, and I think, isn't that 3 hours?
Don't make me do math, man.
I don't know.
Oh, God.
It's Sunday.
Maths.
It might be noon, close to noon your time?
If it's Pacific, then it's 11:41 now.
Oh, okay, cool. Get more.
Kitty's back. Kitty's back behind Rosetta's head.
Of course.
Kitty.
Now, this is typical for my daughter. We got to the point when she could get to school on her own, I would just like leave in the morning. I still have PTSD about trying to get her going for school in the morning.
Oh no, I can only imagine.
What are you doing?
Kitty.
Back to the window.
Yeah, he's looking out the window.
Looking at the birds.
They're girls. They're evil, evil women.
Cats in windows. It's so much fun just to watch them. No, I haven't really. The only thing I've been watching new lately is that Raised by Wolves show on HBO Max.
And how has that been?
Well, it started out like really slow, but it visually, of course, it was interesting, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this series. I don't know what's the point of this. And then towards the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. Second episode was better. I think they've got like 4 out right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure. But they only have a few. They're doing it week by week, which is weird. Have you noticed a lot of streaming services are doing that?
Yeah, and I think it was really Amazon, which was the one that got that started. But it actually makes a lot of sense for them to do it because it helps to build up anticipation and keep people invested, where beforehand you could, just binge the whole series and then cancel it or whatever,
Yeah. I guess I want to get back into The Boys because I only got a few episodes into the first season.
Yeah.
And you seem to like that, so that's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I have been. It's not perfect. There's some issues with it overall that might, upset some people, but I think that the characters in general are just so well created and they interact with each other in such unique ways that anything that might be conceived as being woke is not nearly as distracting, especially when the source material is kind of meant to be woke initially. It's one of those things where it's like, well, it's not turning something that's classic or turning something that didn't have political elements into something political. Instead, it's just telling the story as it was in the comics. And so that's why for me, it's like, I don't have as much of a problem with it for that reason. And to me, based on what I've been hearing from people that have read the comic and everything, it doesn't seem like it's even as woke necessarily as the comic had gotten.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Anything that Carl, how do you say his name?
Carl Urban, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything he's in, I watch because he seems to pick really good stuff. He was in a show on Fox. It was a sci-fi show.
Almost Human.
He was, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They canceled that. I was very upset. I was enjoying that. I don't know why they canceled it.
I have the answer. It's Fox, and it's a sci-fi show. And Fox is notorious for always canceling really good sci-fi shows.
They are. They do.
Firefly is a great example.
He's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yep. And
Firefly is the cliche example at this point.
It is, but it's like there's so many others.
Everyone uses it.
There's so many others you can go to, but
yeah.
It's one of the more it has, I think, the biggest cult following though, and that's why it's usually the one that people mention.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Almost Human, it's funny because someone else had mentioned that in another stream and said,
Oh.
"Hey, if you like Carl Urban, check out this show." I don't think it ever got even released on DVD or Blu-ray, which is sad for me because obviously physical media is where I live. But yeah, 13 episodes, 2013 to 2014. And yeah, Carl Urban, I mean, yeah, he looks great in everything he does, like as you were mentioning, and people oftentimes forget he was in Lord of the Rings. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I actually own that show on iTunes. I liked it so much, I just wanted to watch it over and over.
Yeah.
There was another show that I watched that was on for several seasons. You probably will know it when I describe it. It was a ghost, a werewolf, and a vampire all lived in a house together.
Oh, it was on Sci-Fi. It was on Sci-Fi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it Being Human or?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Was it a good show? Really? It just didn't. The concept alone for me was like, I don't know.
It sounds like a joke.
It
Like,
does.
well, what's the punchline? So who was in that? Sam Witwer was
Okay.
the vampire.
Hmm.
I can't remember the guy's name who played the werewolf, but he was kind of the comic relief.
Okay. Yeah, comedy
Oh.
drama series is what it says.
What was it on?
Sam
I can't remember.
Huddington is a name mentioned.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I've seen him in something before.
They would get themselves in these hilarious situations, like the vampire would be doing something and his teeth would pop out, and he's like, oh my god, he's like trying to cover it. Like they were over at the one guy's parents' house one time, and he just starts like, oh, they put that's what it was. The vampire was having dinner with the werewolf's family, and they put too much garlic into the dinner, so the vampire starts going into like anaphylactic shock.
Oh.
And then his teeth pop out and his eyes start to change, and he's like hiding himself behind his hand, and he looks over at his friend like, help me. It was surprisingly funny for a and the ghost is played by a girl, and she's for most of the show was like physically trapped in the house that they live in, so she can't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So she has to like live vicariously through the two guys, and I don't know. I found it really amusing show.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Because I remember the commercials for that and was just always, it doesn't seem that interesting. But it's always good to hear when shows like that don't have good marketing end up being still good shows. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that might be one I have to check out. I know Almost Human. The reason why I knew right away the show you were talking about was because I still had the tab open, and I was like, oh, a show that Carl Urban was in. I can only imagine that it has to probably be this show instead. But yeah, hopefully I can find a way to get it. And, maybe they've done a release, but they only did it in a certain country. Sometimes they do that. But okay. Yeah. So been watching some shows, and obviously you've been watching some trailers like the Dune trailer. And any other things you've been consuming or watching?
No, I just really want to see a Dune movie with the Pink Floyd music now. That just sounds ideal.
And speaking of movies, because I don't know what the update's been, are theaters open in your location yet?
No.
Oh, no.
It's never going to happen. What they do here is they keep changing the requirements
Of
to
course.
open. So as we get closer, now it has to be like there has to be racial and income equity and COVID cases, or I don't know. They just keep making stuff up.
Oh, okay. So basically that if the cases are still high in certain communities, then it doesn't matter what the entire area is. It has to be equal in that specific place.
That's bigoted.
Wow. That's insane.
That's bigoted.
Up.
What was that, Laura?
Oh my god! That there's somebody figured out that
I thought I could
with
hear
some of the
dogs.
forms. There's
Oh,
people
yeah, there
are
are
saying
dogs.
that there's 4 dogs here, all inside.
Wait, what was that about?
Imagine.
Wait, Laura, what was that?
I forget what I was going to say. Oh yeah, they said mathematically, some people have figured out that in some cases it's virtually impossible for counties to be open until COVID's like completely gone, because of the way I don't do math, but you know the way that the formula is done. to be completely open, there virtually has to be 0 cases.
Yeah, and that's
never going to happen.
Yeah,
yeah.
Even with a vaccine, that's never going to happen, and that's what I just don't understand why people can't get that, which makes me.
You can't completely eradicate something. Even these dead diseases still occur on occasion.
Well, Kitty disagrees with you.
Kitty's mad that I'm not just giving all my attention to her.
Kitty's like, I could end it right now, but you won't let me. But yeah, it is.
Why don't go to the window with the other cat?
It is one of those crazy things, though, right? Where it's just something that, all of us are trying to do everything that we can. I think most of us are not of that crowd that's on either extreme, of either saying, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to kill people, or, I'm just going to not wear a mask at all and just, laugh in people's faces. Like, we're not on either extreme. We're kind of in that middle ground where it's like, hey, if the law says something and it seems to be relatively reasonable, like going out and going to a public place where there's a lot of people, etc., it's like, okay, if I'm being encouraged to wear something, that's fine. I'm not going to try and be an ass about it. But it's just one of those things where that can only last for so long. When you are trying to be reasonable with reasonable people, they are willing to work with you. But if you start to continue, like you were saying, Laura, change the rules every 5 seconds and then say, oh, this is when things are okay. And then say, oh, never mind. Now it's this. You start to say, okay, why should I believe anything that you have to say? And that's when normal people, like that middle ground people, that's when they start to say, okay, yeah, I'm done. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, I think like a lot of the problems is some people had tried to get together and have schools like at home where you have a tutor come in and everybody like pays for part of the teacher's salary, and they crack down on that. It's like every time people are trying to work around the rules, a lot of hairdressers I know are going to people's houses to do hair, or doing stuff on the back porch of people's houses, and they're getting arrested and fined. So it's, people are trying to find some way to make it. That's why there's so much, if you've known, people are just doing stuff under the table.
Yeah.
People are just trying to survive working under the table. I'm going to go outside. Nope.
Well, I mean, it's like you're mentioning about how there are people that are doing hairdressing in this way, and they're having to do all these different things, and it makes you mad because in your area especially, right, or at least in the San Francisco area, when you have politicians that are being openly exposed to having gone and not wearing a mask and, getting their hair done by people because they're special. You think, again, that's, as I was saying before, it's that kind of stuff that's going to push people who are just regular, ordinary people that are just trying to not upset anybody, just trying to do what they have to do, right? Not pushing the boundaries. That's what's going to cause them to start, one, pushing the boundaries, but also to stop listening to you altogether. It's getting so ridiculous.
Well, somebody tried to defend Pelosi by saying, well, you don't put your mask on when you get your hair washed. And I actually did.
You do.
I got my hair done. They opened the salons for a little bit for indoor service for like a month or so. It was open. I went, I got my hair washed. I had my mask on the whole time. And then when I got done with my haircut, he was like, we can't use a blow dryer. For some reason. So you just, towed me off as best they could. And I left with my hair dripping. I was like, okay.
Laura, they're doing that here. Kentucky is not allowing them to blow out your hair. You can sit under a dryer. And when I went to get my color put in back in May, I wore a mask the entire time so Nancy Pelosi can blow it. But when I wore my mask in, mine tied behind my head, but they had one that would loop over my ears, and they said, we'll just toss it when we're done. They put my color in, they shampooed me, put the products in, I went home wet. So I don't know what this, Laura, I don't know what this is about. They can't blow dry hair. I don't understand that. I'm sure there's some stupid reason. But yeah, I'm with you. And Pelosi telling she can. Oh my God!
I have to comment on this because I sit here. Okay, ADA, CDC have already talked about the fact that not all people can wear them. You can't harass people who can't. And those of us who can't, we still get harassed constantly. We still get told we're not welcome in places, even though that's been told that's not legal. Yet she can sit there and she's coddled and protected, and she has no reason not to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's really hollow to a lot of us who take a lot of abuse because we can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are... Go ahead.
Specifically, the thing that she got done to her hair is where they just kind of wash your hair and they style it for you. That has never been legal here in California, like, ever.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're not qualified to know the laws in your area, in your district that you represent, you know, you're the third most powerful person in the United States, you know, maybe you're not qualified for your job. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? You would think that, especially for someone that has been in power since 1987. Again, she's been in the House of Representatives since 1987, and yet she can't figure out her own local laws?
She don't care. She does not care.
No.
That's the thing.
Why would she? You know, if she can normally just get away with it and have no problems. And y'all were mentioning, you know, Tina said how in Kentucky, you know, there are these various rules. In Tennessee as well. I mean, in Tennessee, just to get, not to even go to a hairstylist, to get a general haircut, like to even just go into a quick cuts or super cuts or anything like that, you still have to wear a mask. And so for even someone like me who has a beard, I don't even know if they were even doing beard trimming, because for that they would have to take the mask off. But even,
that's right.
Even then, though, it would be restricted to just that time, like just the time in which you are having to get that, you know, taken care of. But yeah, all the employees have to wear it, and the person getting their hair done has to wear it too. And so that's just even more infuriating. And the fact that her legal team apparently was trying to sue the location for leaking the footage and everything, I was just like, seriously, like, this is so tone deaf. And this is
just own up to it.
Yeah.
I screwed up and be done with it. But for her, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to say something.
No, it's just like, you know, it happens on both sides, right? It's just like when Chris Christie, you know, shut down the road and said, hey, you can't go to the beach. And then what do we see a picture of? Him at the beach with his family. And so it's like, hey, it happens on both sides. Power corrupts. It doesn't matter what letter's next to your name. If you're in power, there's a good chance of it corrupting you. And it's just sad that, you know, we don't hold these people who have this power responsible. It's sad.
Yeah, I was actually really shocked that she took that tact. I mean, I figured she would probably, I don't know what I thought she would say. That if you had given me 12 choices, and that would be the last choice.
Yeah.
It's like, go on the offensive. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Well, nobody said she has brains. I mean,
oh, she's got brains. Evil brains. Evil brains.
I don't know. I don't know if she does, or the people she hires to help her do. Honestly, from what I've seen,
I've been watching that woman pretty much since her career started. I've been watching a lot of them, and no, she has always had that I'm better than you. Oh, I'm going to pretend I'm equal to you, but I'm actually better than you. The kickbacks that her husband gets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those...
I just don't think she's the mastermind. That's what I'm saying.
my daughter's very, very far left. I mean, UC Berkeley graduate, and she has bad things to say about, you know, a lot of that corruption that's on that side. Yeah.
It's one of those few things that can bring us together. You know, it's like no one likes corruption. You know, it doesn't matter what party or what the affiliation of that person's is. It's if they're corrupt and there's clear signs of it, in which case with Pelosi there are very clear signs of it, and a lot of people in politics, especially the lifelong politicians, you know, it's something that, you know, if it's bringing people together, if someone from the far left and someone from the middle or even the right or far right can come together and say this person is corrupt and something needs to be done, then at that time it's like, how can you argue against that? You know, when you have two diametrically opposed opinions coming together saying this is wrong, I'm sorry, like there's no way to defend against that.
I can't imagine owning a hair salon right now.
Oh, no.
Seeing that, I'm surprised that nobody's like gone after her.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about somebody's way to make a living right now.
Yeah, that's why the protests that have been happening outside her house have been kind of
epic.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like mixed on it because, you know, obviously I don't like when people go to anyone's house. Like that's just something that for me it's like a little bit too far, you know, even when they're politicians. But the way that it's been peaceful and they've been hanging blow dryers and stuff like in her tree or in the trees outside her house and stuff, it's like, okay, well, at least they're being peaceful. At least they're not disrupting things or, tearing things down or breaking houses down or anything like that. But it is one of those things where I would prefer it to be, hey, if you really want to make your voices heard, how about you demand a recall? Why don't you start going down that route? Because I think that would, one, show you your frustration, but also, two, it would do something. Because you're angry right now, but in, election time comes around, guess what? She's going to get elected again. So if it's really a problem, you might want to start, being a little bit more productive with it.
Well, I think, and Soul Assassin just mentioned what I was getting ready to. Yellow Flash had Anna on his show last night, and one of his other guests, they couldn't show the photo, but a homeless person went up to her driveway and did his business.
Oh, no. Talking about Pelosi?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. And I was like, well, when you're down in San Francisco, you've got to deal with it. So why not let the homeless person go up there and give her a little bit of San
when the homeless people start going after you, that speaks volumes. Like, seriously, it's like just when you thought you'd seen it all, just someone drops trow and, Lord.
Literally, yes. And I have seen the pictures, actually.
Oh, Lord, that's so crazy. But
Oh my goodness.
but Laura, we are. So you still have about an hour? Is that what I'm gathering?
No, the kid is here. I don't know what she's in her room. Doing her thing.
Well, just in case something happens or changes, is there anything that you were planning to talk about or planning to say before we move on to someone else?
In reference, Tina, to the book that you're reading, they've actually done a lot of work with modern day soldiers and PTSD, using some of the writings that they had from Greece after the Peloponnesian War. They had these big communal meetings where the citizens would come out and kind of like welcome the soldiers back home, and the soldiers would tell the people their stories about their experiences in war. And they're kind of using that as a model now with a lot of the.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I'm like 75 pages into the book, but the way he breaks it down, it's not like, well, in this year this happened, and he doesn't do it chronologically. He kind of does it by events. I didn't realize that there was a plague in Athens because they were bringing like all the farmers and everybody in from like the countrysides into Athens itself. And a plague started, and Pericles, one of the great statesmen of Athens, died from the plague. And I didn't even realize that, but there are things that I'm reading so far in this book that are just, it's stunning to me that this happened all these 1,000+ years ago, and to see the things that their soldiers are going through, and it's very similar to today. So I see why, they're teaching that.
Yeah, they had, they're such a literate society, they had so many writings and things that they could go by. It's been preserved, thank goodness.
Yeah. The one historian that Hansen keeps mentioning, I'm not even going to try to tackle his name because it's Greek, but he actually went into the battlefield with the soldiers. So he was almost an ancient war correspondent.
Wow.
And I think he was banished from Athens for a while, but the idea, I'm thinking, well, there was 100 years war. I know there was a European 30 years war, but the idea of these two nations that at one time had allied to go against the Persians, now they're battling each other. And one dude, he was Greek, or he was from Athens. He betrayed Athens, went to the Spartans, betrayed the Spartans, went to the Persians, betrayed the Persians, and went back to Athens. And I'm like, for real? What a traitor. And then the Spartans ended up assassinating him because I think he slept with the Spartan king's wife.
And that sounds like a movie right there.
And I'm like, this would make a great movie.
Wow.
Soul Assassin said Herodotus. No, it was Albanides. He actually tried to sleep with Sophocles. the philosopher at one time. And Sophocles knew how to control himself, and this Albanides, I think that was his name, he crawled under the sheet with Sophocles, and Sophocles did not respond to him. And the guy said, hey, I have to admire Sophocles. He didn't respond. That's where his head is at. Oh, well. But thank you for telling me that, Laura. I appreciate it. So.
I thought that was interesting.
I am not commenting on that in chat.
Those Greeks, I tell you, they're just they're an interesting lot. That's
yeah, they were.
Yeah. But also, Laura, just because Andrew Hoyle had mentioned that he thought he had heard a report that salon had shut down, and sure enough, I found that New York Post has said that the San Francisco salon owner said that she is closing her business down, and a lot of it has to do apparently with a lot of negative reactions. So she's been getting a lot of phone calls, text, emails, and Yelp reviews saying that they hope they go under, and so I imagine she's getting a lot of support. But again, once you go after someone that is one of the key figures in a political party, you're also going to get a lot of that negativity too. So,
well, yeah, I mean, all the people who have money are moving out of San Francisco right now. So, same with New York, but it's I can't blame them. I mean, if you can't go out to a show and you can't go out to a restaurant, what's the point of paying $3,000 a month for a room?
Yeah, it's totally insane, and that's why I'm honestly very interested to focus and to follow this stuff, because if certain things happen in November and all of a sudden things stop, I'm going to have a lot of questions. So, like, obviously that's what some people think is going to happen. That's what some people speculate. We have no real proof of it, but if it does happen, like let's say one party wins over the other, and this happens to be a party associated with a lot of these states that are having a lot of these major lockdown measures. If we start to see a major change happen at that point, I'm going to have a lot of questions about the intentions of the governors and mayors of certain cities, if that does happen.
They are pushing for universal basic income out here to deal with, the, I don't know, 40% of people who are out of work right now.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the conspiracy theories come in, because it's all very interesting that they're using this to try to push all the social crap they've been trying to shove down our throats for decades.
Well, as the old saying goes, from rules for radicals, never let a
good crisis go to waste.
Yeah,
and you're seeing a lot.
All you have to do is say BLM, and the virus will just flip around you. It's just like, oh, I don't recognize that. Oh
my gosh.
the virus will flee from your system and will scatter away.
Everyone else flees too because of all the rioting. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see also, like, once everything has calmed down, like once the riots and protests and everything have calmed down, and obviously the election's over and a vaccine is developed, like, to see what life is going to look like. It's one of these weird things where it's crazy to think that my son is going to be born this year. And I don't think I've made the connection of, wow, my son's birth year is going to be one of the craziest years in history, of especially recent history. And I'm going to have to explain to him as he grows up, oh, the year you were born, let's talk about the year 2020. It's like... Well,
it's thankfully he won't remember it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Like, thank God for that at the very least. But, it's crazy because obviously, being a teacher, I have kids now that were born around 2003, 2004. And so I have one of the first real groups of kids that were post 9/11. And so they don't have a frame of reference because they weren't born yet, for several years after. And so it's going to be interesting just to have, those discussions with him and say, oh, yeah, things were crazy when you were born. And make for good stories, I guess. But anything else, Laura?
Oh, no. The kids here, I think the game is starting at some point.
Cool.
So I probably, and the dogs all want to go outside.
Okay.
So,
stay on as long as you want and add in stuff if you want to. But I just wanted to make sure you got as much time as you needed, because I knew that you had to leave a little early.
Yeah, I'll probably mute and see what's going on.
Okay.
See what's happening.
All right.
But thanks for letting me go first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Laura.
Want to make sure everyone gets taken care of.
Alrighty. I'll listen quietly in the background.
Cool. Awesome. Very good. Also, again, thank you to everyone who's on the panel today, and also thank you to everyone watching the stream. Really do appreciate all the comments and all of the just all of the support and the love. And thank you all very much for having some really good conversation with each other as well. Again, I will try to get to some things in the chat when I can, but obviously I am going to be a little bit limited because my focus needs to be on The Chosen for today. So let's just jump in for a few comments, though. Let's see. GMuggy76 says, look, Chicago mayor got her hair done, put cops on her block to stop a peaceful protest, and had a temper tantrum when the city council wouldn't give her unlimited power to buy stuff. Yeah, I remember reading some of those accounts, especially about how people were just trying to, not even just peaceful protests, they were journalists that were trying to do stories, and they will not let journalists even cover it, even somewhat close to her house. So it's interesting how she basically is using the cops as her personal bodyguards in that way. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Andrew Hoyle says, sheesh, that's bad. Glad people got a crowdfunder for. Yeah, she raised some money with crowdfunding, luckily. So it looks like she will be able to move out relatively easily. But hopefully this lawsuit that was being discussed as being a potential from the Pelosi camp goes away or doesn't go anywhere, because that just, that would not be good for her, especially trying to get out. Andrew Hoyle then says, as an Englishman looking in, what is the consensus in the U.S. with the upcoming election? Will Orange Man bad win big, or is it touch and go? Andrew Hoyle, basically just to talk just to touch on that briefly, because, I don't want to get too much into politics specifically, but the mindset, it basically is, it's a coin flip. It's the polls are saying that Biden's going to win. There's other people that think, that means Trump's going to win, because the same thing was being said in 2016 as well. But in all honesty, we really honestly don't know. Like, there's so many things that could happen. And really the biggest concern right now is that Trump is probably going to win the day of vote. And then Biden's going to win both mail-in voting that happened prior to the election, so early voting, but then also post election day. There's a lot of talk now among different groups in different cities and different states saying, hey, we're going to try and do this massive mail vote ballot campaign where everyone gets a mail-in ballot, whether you want one or not. And we've already seen that there's been a lot of corruption with that process, and that there's been entire elections that have been overthrown, that have been tossed out by courts because it was unreliable, because enough of a percentage point of votes were unreliable. So we really honestly don't know right now what's going to happen, and I can't wait for it to be over. That's I think the general consensus of most people. We just want it to be done. All right. Yeah. Peabody says Thor will be fine. Personal drop bear can't go wrong. This is true. He does have his own drop bear. Thanks to Mr. Peabody. Soul Assassin 2020 never happened. 2020 never happened. We all went on vacay and had fun. Tell baby Thor that. Nah, I got to keep it real. Rob D. Ben Skywalker, Luke Skywalker's son in the EU, was born in the middle of the Yuzhan Vong War, the worst war in Star Wars history. Is that what I should tell baby Thor? You were born during the Battle of the Yuzhan Vong, and just create a Star Wars history from him instead. That'd be fun. Hunka Chunky Funka Monkey 2020 is what the Mayans predicted, as we just got the date wrong on the stone. I hear that all the time. Oh, this is the actual year. I don't buy any of that. Wingster says, General Wingster, hi Odin, currently watching Finding Nemo, good film that still holds up. Yes, it is. It's a classic. That's for sure. And then Hardwick says, did you see the stunt Tom Cruise did recently, jumping off the cliff with a motorcycle? Yes, I did, and it's badass. If you've not seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's great. He rides off a cliff, so there's a launch, or I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's not the cliff itself he goes off of. It's a ramp they built on top of a cliff. And so he goes off of it, and then as the bike leaves the jump, he jumps off the bike and parachutes down. And it was Tom Cruise actually doing it with no harnesses or anything. And I was like, that's amazing. So, yes, I did, and it's great. The K-Man himself, I dislike mail-in voting, but Oregon only allows mail-in, no in-person voting. Yeah, the K-Man, I know that Oregon is that only state that does it that way. And I've always had questions, like, how reliable are those tallies then? Because I have so many questions, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to you. But anyway, thank you so much for everyone for being here. Let's start off now, going again back in order. So, Mr. Roy, what you been watching? Mr. Roy? Mr. Roy, are you here? Mr. Roy, are you having some technical difficulties? All right. Well, we'll circle back to Mr. Roy once the technical issues get figured out. But Rosetta Allen, have you been watching anything, consuming anything recently?
Just on streams and working.
Okay, very cool. What any fun streams that you've been on?
I hang out with a bunch of people that are kind of I guess you would say fandom adjacent. We just kind of BS through the night on different nerd stuff and tell bad jokes. So, but they're fun, and it's a crew where we can just be silly and enjoy each other's company without worrying about which community who is in, which is kind of fun.
Very, very cool. And I know that you were excited because you mentioned it earlier, but now you have been pegged to do more artwork. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in the running for a few projects, actually, which will be down the road. I'll be able to announce, but I do have the cover finished for Laz, and he'll be figuring out which one of the versions and picking that. And then I started on this, which is going to be a variant cover on the new version of Tilt here.
Okay.
Which is also me and Vic King. So it's the same artist duo doing this one as the last cover I did together.
Okay. Very cool.
And that does have a mailing list. I'll give you that in a little bit here.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm getting the links for your other projects from last time up and running. But yeah, let me get those other links. So that's awesome. That's very, very cool. And so obviously one of the projects that you were working on last time, was it Street Champion Road Warrior Drake?
Yeah.
How's that
the
been?
cover art is done on that one, and it's still in demand, so it's still able to be gotten.
Okay.
It's anything that's listed as the one with Vic King being in it. And I'll go ahead and put the Tilt mailing list in the other.
All right. Very, very cool. Awesome. And so what is the current state of your personal work, the Eagles, an Adventure Through Photos project?
It's getting there. It's a lot harder to do on the computer here without freaking multiple monitors. A lot harder because of how I'm switching between the photos here, the photos finished, the tagging information, verification on which photo was from where and when, and then the whole setup, laying out the pages. It's really not easy to do with one monitor. So it's a lot slower here than it was at the house, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine. I just posted a link, everyone. That first one is to support Street Champion Road Warrior Jake. And that is one where she was working on that was the cover art, right?
Mm-hmm. Cover art with Vic King.
Very cool. Awesome. And then the second one I'm about to post, this is a project that she's been working on for a while. And right now it's still in those early stages, but it is going to, right now it's collecting email addresses if you want to be on the mailing list for when it goes live officially, to be able to support her there.
To anyone who does sign up on the Eagles, anyone who's in the mailing list who backs it when I get it up, will be getting full page signed print of one of them. So
there you go. Very, very cool. So there is the second. There is a second link right there. So again, if you want to support her project on the Eagles, an Adventure Through Photos. Again, right now, just the mailing list. But if you do sign up now for the mailing list, you will get some bonus stuff, some signed things. Mm-hmm. Very, very exciting. Anything else that you've been working on or that you want to mention?
A lot of time out in the woods doing photos. So there's going to be. I got to get the Eagles done here as soon as I can because I've got to start putting together the swans and bison and other sets I'm going to be doing down the road because I've got to deal with all these photos on the system at this point.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it. That's going to be probably a lot of space with all the photos and everything you've been working with. So yeah, how's your computer looking right now? Is it just a giant mess of things?
I have a whole bunch of external multi-terabyte hard drives.
Oh, good.
And that's what I store stuff on, and then I have backup drives and stuff, but it's a lot of work.
Okay.
Oh my God, Hunky Chunky.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Ducky's Quack Power. Now that would be fun. That would be fun to do.
No, that's a running joke of him picking on the art style that my boss did.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. That actually would be a fun thing to do, though, I think.
Because it's a platypus-like beast creature with a bill, and he stylized a lot of it to the underground style that Turtles and stuff had in the 90s. So it's a whole running joke with Monkey trolling both of us.
Well, that's awesome. So the next link I'm going to be posting, everybody, this is to support Tilt 2. And so this is the project that is newer for Rosetta. She'll be doing the cover art for this one as well. So, boom, if you want to support that work, there it is. Support Tilt Rosetta. Link right there. Another Indiegogo campaign. Anything else that you want to mention?
Just keep finding people in these communities that need the support and doing what you can. Because part of why I love doing all this is because we need a counterculture, and it is, you talk to people and they're shocked that you get, anywhere from 35 to 100 a page, depending on art type and what you're doing. But when you really start looking at how much we all do, there's so little most of these artists actually get to keep out of pocket because we're putting everything into this. So if you can support these things, find one you like. Because there's so much hard work and dedication.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm glad that you mentioned, support the ones you like because, there's a lot of projects out there, right? There's a lot of people now working more in an independent fashion.
I've got thousands of different comic artists in my contacts between Twitter, Facebook, and email anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's
crazy.
Sometimes it can feel like there's just so many things, and you're like, I don't know what to support. Basically, just go by what it is that you have an interest in, based on just the content that you want to watch, the content that you want to see, the things that you want to see happen. Those are the projects you should support, because obviously it's going to be hard to support every single person out there because we all have limited resources. But it is definitely the wave of the future, especially in comics, especially in the way in which we support independent artists in general. It's amazing to have seen everything that really started with Comicsgate, especially kind of getting the ball rolling on it. And now it's something that's actually now started to go in various directions with not just comics, but also, books in general. Obviously the author Stephen Walton, right, working on his Phantom Menace series, the history and development of the Phantom Menace, has been really cool to see. And so, this is the future. And so it's really cool to see it all play out. So thank you very much, Rosetta, for being here once again.
I like working, promoting and helping other people. It's not just doing the artwork. I like being out there doing the interviews and reaching out to these people and helping promote for anybody I can, because we need this culture. We really do. Yeah.
And it's good discussions too. It's always fun. Well, thank you very much, Rosetta, for being here, of course. And looks like Mr. Roy might be back. Mr. Roy, you here?
Yeah.
There it is.
I had to restart my computer, and then Microsoft's like, "Yeah, you got to do an update now."
Don't you love when that happens?
Yeah, I was like, "I can't skip this," and like, "Nope."
Nope, this is mandatory. You have to watch it. You have to go through it. So, Mr. Roy, what you been watching recently?
I went and saw Tenet.
Okay, what were your thoughts?
I kind of mixed on it. Story's really interesting, but it's just really irritating to watch.
What did you find irritating about it?
Well, I watched it in IMAX. The sound balance is really bad. It's really hard to hear these actors talk. It's I did watch it or rewatched it in Cinemark, and it's a lot better, but it's I don't know what's with Christopher Nolan and telling his actors to speak in this low volume and really fast paced, and you just can't keep up with stuff. The way this film's edited, it feels like a 3-hour film, like cut down to 2.5 hours. Just the dialogue just flows so quickly through the film. It's really, there's no breathing room. It's really hard to keep up with what these actors are. It's hard to keep up with the story. Overall,
go ahead.
I enjoyed. The cinematography and like the non-use of CGI is fantastic in this movie. I don't know. I hear a lot of people enjoy this thing, and I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, and I totally get it. I totally understand it, because it is one of those, it's a technical marvel. So you have to, you do appreciate some of the technical elements like the cinematography and how they're able to do a lot of these reverse shots without having to use, CG and just using practical effects in this way. And it's truly amazing what they do. But there is also this complexity. And you're not the only one, because non-IMAX screens apparently also have the same mixing issue. And basically what it comes down to is Nolan has done this before with other films, where whenever it's, when he puts it out theatrically, he does something to the mix. He wants, for some reason, he likes to have the background sound and background music overpower the dialogue. And he's done it now for a few different films. And it's something that at first I thought was just IMAX, but then, my friend John Flickinger, he had seen it in Dolby and had the same problems. There are others that have seen it in just regular, ordinary screens and have had the same problems as well. And so it's just one of those things where it boggles everyone's mind about why he does it this way, because normally on the Blu-ray or 4K versions of his films, you don't have the same issues. So it's basically the mix he makes for the theater specifically that does this weird, stressing of certain things over others. But, for me, I was actually able to understand at least 95% of the dialogue, but that was because I had to literally focus very, very hard on everything going on. So I enjoyed it. I understood it. I didn't have issues with it as much as others, but it did require me to kind of say, all right, I can't sit back and enjoy the movie. I have to actually just analyze it on the fly to keep up with it and understand it. And not everyone's going to do that. And I understand completely why no one would want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the frustration I have. I don't like having to go to a movie a second time to get a general understanding what the story is.
Yeah.
So I saw it in IMAX. I was actually angry. That's one of the few points I've ever wanted to get my money back.
Man.
That experience was that bad.
Yeah. And trust me, I get it. I don't know how I was able to understand it more than others that had seen it in similar formats, but I think it was just because I was hyper prepared for it, I guess, is the only thing I can really say to describe it. But yeah, I mean, it's not good when you have to see it a second time just to have a general understanding. It's one thing where you're seeing Inception a second time because your mind was blown and you want to watch it to see what you missed. It's another when you miss the vast majority of what's going on. And so you have to see it a second time. That way you are ready to hyper focus on it and pick things up you didn't the first time. And a lot of people are not going to enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, I can also say that Robert Pattinson's performance in it's actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more open to his Batman role.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that scene where he is checking out the vault and he's dressed in the suit. I got a lot of Bruce Wayne vibes during those scenes.
Yeah, when they actually do the actual, or I don't even know what you call it. He's in there. They're both in there with that dude, and the gas starts coming out. He's like, "You said 10 seconds, right?" I busted out laughing.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, the acting in it was great. All those technical elements were there, right? Cinematography, acting, all of it was present, and I would even say the writing too. But it's when you know what the story is where the writing is working. But if you can't hear the writing, then you can't have an opinion one way or the other over the writing. And so that's why a lot of people are like, I don't know if the writing's good because I couldn't understand a damn thing that was being said.
Yeah, I don't know if you got this either. There's some bad editing in this movie. Especially at the beginning. There's really quick cuts in certain scenes. It's like they had to cut a bunch of stuff off the beginning of the film. And it's really odd, kind of jarring to look at.
Yeah, and I think, and that's why the movie, I think, is so hard to follow, is because not just that the sound mix is bad or that they have a lot of quick dialogue, but also when you have quick edits, it means the brain also has to catch up with what it's seeing and hearing. And so I think a lot of people also struggled because their minds were trying to adjust to what they were seeing, and even though the dialogue might not have been as fast as was what we thought it was because the quick cuts were there, it made it our perception was that it was faster than what it actually was. And I think that was a big part of it. Yeah, I agree. And when you have a 2.5 hour movie, especially, you don't need quick cuts the entire movie. That just makes the film so much harder to get into.
Yeah, I think this film will benefit from a 3-hour extended version.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And also, I don't know if you know, this film was edited by her name's Jennifer Lane. The only other previous credit she has is Marriage Story.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, that explains a lot then. Why would you get someone that's a newbie in the business to edit your film?
The person he normally uses was working on 1917, so he wasn't available.
Okay. I don't know. I'd be willing to wait for that. If that's going to change the dynamic of the movie. To be honest, Nolan might want to go back and say, hey, can I get a re-edit of this movie and see if it comes out better?
Yeah, if you look up the film she's done, and she's mostly been an assistant on most of the films, and then
Oh.
Marriage Story is like the only real film she's ever edited.
And Marriage Story, I was not, I've only saw like 30 minutes of it, and I was just not into it at all.
That's why I brought it up. I've never seen it, so I don't know
Yeah.
what the editing is in that film.
Yeah,
or
it's
what it
not
looks
quick like it was in Tenet, but it's also not anything worth noting either. Okay, but yeah, so Tenet for sure. It's one that is dividing a lot of people, no question about it, and don't want to see it a second time.
Yeah, when it comes out on 4K, I probably would recommend people at least give it a watch.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time recommending IMAX, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's hard to cough up that $15-$20 just to have that risk that the sound be bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that the only way, if you have something like an AMC Premier membership or one of the Regal Alternative or the Cinemark one, it might make sense to get that premium format because you're not paying anything extra. You're just whatever it is you pay monthly, it's included. So, but yeah, when you're paying individual ticket pricing, IMAX is usually very hard to really recommend as being the cut that you watch.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you've been watching?
I rewatched probably one of my favorite childhood films, Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it holds up really well. It brought back some memories. I forgot how good the score is in this movie. Just start to finish, it's just really good. It's got the voice acting's good for the most part. It's the cinematography and editing is really good. It takes a lot to convince you that these animals are actually doing things, and you can see it in the editing, how they edit the film to make these animals do things that they're not. It's obvious that the animals are not doing these stuff. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's a movie I have not seen in a very long time, and it is a movie I loved though when I was younger, and even the sequel I enjoyed.
I still remember the ow ow he bit me with his butt, and I haven't
Yeah,
watched it in a long time.
That's right. Oh, it's such a great.
It's a children's film, but I think it holds up really well. I think the adults can enjoy it too.
Oh, for sure, and also, I mean, it's the voice acting on it spot on, as you said. Michael J. Fox is a voice actor on the project. Sally Field also a voice actor as well. Michael J. Fox is the one that is the voice of Chance. So the one that gets hit in the face with a porcupine, like, ow, ow, he bit me with his butt. Michael J. Fox coming in, doing that voice, and then Sally Field plays the cat, I believe.
Sassy. I don't know why I remember these things as well from this long ago, but
probably because you watched it a lot. I remember I watched it all the time when I was younger.
I didn't watch anything a lot, actually.
Yeah, I forgot who plays Shadow, but I remember that's one of his. He's a longtime actor, and it's one of his last films. Unfortunately, he passed away right after it came out.
Oh, so he didn't come back to do the sequel?
No.
Oh.
No, that was the last film he did.
Oh, wow. I want to say I may have remembered that the voice when I saw the sequel was not the same as the one that I had remembered, but I'm trying to look up to see who actually did the voice of Shadow. Oh, so they credited the dog though. I was like, wait a minute. So a dog named Ben did Shadow, Rattler did Chance, and then Tiki was the one that played Sassy. But Don Amish or Don Amish.
He's in Trading Places. He plays one of the Wall Street dudes.
Wow. You know what's crazy? He was born in Kenosha.
What's
Kenosha? Where the riots are happening right now, the more recent ones. Kenosha, Wisconsin, yeah. But okay, that's it. Yeah, so technically his last one was Karina, Grandpa Harry. It was the year after 1994. And wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So the film came out in 94. He died in 93, so that makes more sense. I was like, wait a minute. His film came out after. Oh, that's right, because it takes a while sometimes to get films made. But yeah, Homeward Bound. Man, that takes me back. Such a wonderful film. And also, I love it the most because they don't add in CG. They don't make the mouths of the animals match the words being said because you don't need it to. It still works.
It's really good to see good voice acting. you get good voice acting and it works. It doesn't matter if the dog's mouth moves.
Exactly. Absolutely. Bless you.
It's also a good showcase of how you could get like real dogs, not CGI dogs, like you see in that Harrison Ford movie that I refuse to watch.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. The one on Disney Plus. Or now it would be on Disney Plus.
Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Roy, so Homeward Bound, I never saw it, but so it's more realistic than, say, Lion King live action.
Lion King 2019. The voice acting in Lion King sounds like they did everything in 1 and 2 takes. So there's no. It's just terrible voice acting. It's kind of hard to explain once you actually watch it.
Yeah, the emotions.
It's very low effort.
Yeah, the emotions of the voices do not match because there's no emotion on the animals. So it's hard, right? Because they try to make it so hyper realistic, but oftentimes for humans, we need to, for most people, we need to be able to see and hear at the same time to get the full conveyance of everything. And so when you have it where it's just the live action, the really, accurate looking live action animals who have no emotion at all, because animals typically don't show it in the same way that humans would, for instance, but you're hearing human actors doing certain voices and certain emotions, it's like, wait, you're doing something here that really just does not work in practice at all.
Yeah. And it doesn't, a lot of people don't know Homeward Bound's actually a remake. So there's actually a film in the 60s that's called The Incredible Journey. It's almost the same film.
Interesting.
It's weird watching Homeward Bound. It's like, wow, Disney can actually do a remake and make it better.
Yeah. Interesting.
When you watch Lion King 2019, was like, feels like a really lazy cash grab. And
it was a really lazy cash grab.
Yeah, and it made them money, sadly. So,
Duck Fisney.
Yeah, absolutely, Duck Fisney. Anything else, Mr. Roy, that you've been watching?
I watched There Will Be Blood for the first time.
Yes! What'd you think?
It's fantastic.
Yes.
I assume
really
your favorite scene
mad
is the ending.
Yes. I'm really mad. I'm really mad I missed this film. I'm really mad at myself.
Well, hey, you've seen it now. That's what's important.
Yeah, I've seen it. There's really not much to say other than it's fantastic. Every aspect of it's really good. It does take a bit to get into, but once you get into it, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of odd that this came out the same year as No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
I will pick There Will Be Blood over it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I have seen the No Country for Old Men, and I get that they're again, it's got those technical elements that are well done to it, but it's a movie that I never want to see again. It's a movie that doesn't have enough entertainment, even just from a practical standpoint, for me to actually want to watch it again. So yeah, I would love to watch There Will Be Blood again. I don't want to watch No Country for Old Men ever again.
Yeah, the problem I had in No Country for Old Men is, spoiler alert, the main protagonist dies about 3/4 in the film, and from there, lose interest. There's no reason to watch the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Or watch it ever again.
Yeah, there's some interesting things brought in there because you have the silent shotgun, or the silenced shotgun, and then you also have the air compressor that he uses to kill some people as well. And I was like, that's kind of interesting, but
yeah, that's pretty much the most interesting part of the film is the villain. Everything else is kind of dull and just not interesting.
Yeah, Javier Bardem does a great job, and he really does own the villainous character well. But yeah, you're right. The really only reason to watch it would be for his character and not really for much else.
Yeah.
And Mr. Roy, check out YouTuber Cinema Tyler. He has several really good videos about the making of There Will Be Blood, including how long it took Daniel Day-Lewis to get into character. I think it took him about 2 years. And also how they shot that when the derrick goes up, how they shot that at night. So that might be something you might be interested in since you just saw the movie.
I found it. I'll put it in the watch later list.
Nice.
Good deal.
Yeah,
Good
but
deal.
There Will Be Blood really is just one of those great movies, and yeah, the ending scene is the one that gets me when they're in the bowling alley, because as some people have already been saying in the chat, right, the best line there is like, "I drink your milkshake, I drink it up." It's just so good, and like Daniel Day-Lewis is doing great. Obviously, you've got Paul freaking Dano reacting to it, like. I can only imagine what it must have been like for Paul freaking Dano to be on set and have this guy who's a method actor just coming at him. It, one, must have helped his performance, but two, it also kind of must have been scary a little bit too.
Well, on Cinema Tyler said there were a couple of scenes in there that were shot. I know they shot some in Texas, in some smaller towns, and there's one scene in the movie where they used the actual residents of this town, and Daniel Day-Lewis like kind of swung around and screams at this guy, and the guy said he was literally in fear. He couldn't even think of what his next line was supposed to be.
That's awesome. I'm so sad that Daniel Day-Lewis's last role, he claims, we'll see how it plays out if over the years he maybe comes back from retirement, but the fact that it was the Phantom Thread made me so sad because I did not like that movie at all.
I still haven't seen that yet.
It's just boring. It's not good. It's not good. And like for his performances too, you're like, this is not going to be remembered ever by by anyone. It's just, why would he choose this boring, dull role to end his career on? It makes no sense. Yeah. Anything else?
Not that you're opinionated or anything.
No, not that I have an alleged movie blog or anything, and I would talk about these things. No, you're right.
What movie blog? I want to see this blog.
I ask the same question sometimes to myself. Mr. Roy, anything else?
For anyone in the Discord, I watched a movie on Netflix that I really don't want to talk about. Yeah, Tatum probably doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I do.
All I'm going to say is there's a specific movie on Netflix. Don't watch it. It's not worth your time. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Is it the one that has all the controversy around it right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think anyone who's able to watch the movie based on just the clips that we've seen from it has to be, it's just, it takes a special person to be able to watch all of it and to be able to, I think, come out of it on the other side, because there's just so many disturbing things in there, and I can only imagine what it's like to actually watch them in context and to see just how people have been defending them nonstop. It's crazy.
Let's not even go the don't watch it. Let's go to those who made it and did that crap. Kill it with fire. Give the poor kids therapy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm opinionated.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I watched this film, I got to one of the first scenes and I just started skipping through it.
Yeah.
I got through this movie in about 40 minutes.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, there's about 50 minutes of stuff that's just about unwatchable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's really creepy too, because you have people coming from the House and from the Senate that are wanting to investigate these people, and I think they should, because think about that audition process where it's like, hey, we want you, if you're 11 years old and a girl, to send in either videos of yourself doing these risque dance moves or actually coming in for an actual in-person audition and doing it. And Az was talking about this for a long time before the movie came out, that the process apparently took about 6 months, and they took like 650 girls into the audition, or they had 650 girls at this age, right? 11-year-old girls doing these disgusting things.
10 and 11.
It's just so crazy. It's just so crazy, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, that even on like an objective level, this story is actually awful.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually make sense. You get to the ending and like all the stuff they're telling you that's supposedly in this film, it's not in it.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't made for you. So.
No, because he's not a disgusting pervert.
Exactly.
It's not. I don't think it's made for any sane person.
Nope. I think that's a great way of wording it. It's not made for any sane person.
No, I don't think it's made for any person that's not evil incarnate.
Pretty much. Someone that needs, it's not made for anyone that doesn't need a lot of therapy and needs to be put on a list for something.
Shock therapy.
And needs to be put on a list for something. I'll just put it that way.
Shock therapy.
So.
And by that I mean electric chair. I mean,
I wouldn't go that far, just because I do believe that people can change, but they need help, and sometimes they need it to be pressured onto them because they're not going to do it themselves, and they put others at risk.
Some people just need to be put under the prison, about 6 feet under. But anyway,
I don't know. I mean, you would know this, Tina. Just being put in prison alone would be, punishment enough.
Some of them thrive from. I won't get into it now, but some of them thrive from that environment.
Yeah.
And there are others. It's just like, if you're going to put them in prison, you lock the door, you throw away the key, and we never look at them again. So, and with Mr. Roy talking about Anna's review, I might get into it a little bit later. I'm going to see how I feel, but hearing her review kind of set me off into some PTSD from my old job. So I might get into it later. I'll see.
Okay.
There's also a really good one from Cynic Reviews, where he actually live reacts to the movie.
Oh Lord!
And you can see him progressively get more angry as he watches, because that's what the film's actually designed to do. The stuff you see in there progressively gets worse as it gets to the end.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that same thing that we've been saying, if you're trying to, because the defense is, it's supposed to be, calling out the stuff that you're seeing. And it's like, okay, you don't talk about drug abuse and then tell the people on screen, okay, we're going to put you on actual real life drugs so that you can give the audience a real experience of what it's like. Like, that's not how you handle that. That's not how you do that. That's not how you make the point.
That's not in the film. This is a film about a little girl that bad things and then gets into trouble and then does the bad things again.
Yeah.
And then gets in trouble again.
She's a sociopath.
Yeah, I actually misinterpreted the ending, because at the end she does something really horrendously bad.
Yeah.
And the director's saying that, she realizes and she's all and she changes. I interpret it as, oh my God, I did something really bad. I'm going to go cry to my mom and try to get out of trouble.
Yeah.
That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, that's what Anna was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at what the character's been doing over the progression of the film, and if you notice that the character has no remorse throughout the entire movie, to have that be the ending that you're trying to go with of, she now is going to be, being different than she's been the entire film. It's like, I don't really buy into that.
Just think that the child is a sociopath.
Yeah.
She does violent and twisted things to other people. The director claims this is her real life story.
Well, then she needs psychological help, because Dahmer was eviscerating animals when he was a child and his parents didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So
that's
this
why
is where
when she said that, I was like, holy shit, you better be kidding, because that kid is a sociopath.
If this is what this child is doing, they had better get her some help, or we're going to have one of those rarities called a female serial killer. And I'm serious.
For clarification, the director of this film made a film about 5 years ago that is basically her childhood. It's basically a film about her moving into Paris with her mom and then her dad bringing home a second wife. That's basically it.
Okay.
Well, she said it about this one too, in all her defense of it. She said this was about her.
Yeah.
All the child stuff is added on.
Yeah. God, that's just.
But yeah, that's what she said in recent posts as people were blasting this. This is about what I really went through when I was that age. It's like, I hope to God it's not.
It's like, so if you want to tell the story, you do a documentary and you interview yourself and others that have been victims, and then you put it out. And if Netflix were to get behind that kind of a project, guess what? We would be praising Netflix, because we would say, yes, point this crap out, call it out, show, give us examples, give us names of people in the industry that have done these things and have promoted this stuff. Don't say, hey, I'm going to do exactly what was done to me or exactly what's been done to others, and that's how I'm going to make the point. Like, no, that defeats the entire purpose of what you're trying to do. And all that you've done is sexualize these children. And when they grow up, guess what? That's going to stay with them forever. And if you don't think that they're going to be impacted by that they're not going to be negatively impacted by that image of them that's now been put on screen, please, you are obviously clueless. So,
wake up.
Yep. Yeah, so I imagine that you probably needed to take a shower after watching the movie, to cleanse the just nonsense off. And for me, I'd probably have to be like, yeah, I need to spend some time with Jesus because this is too disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was visibly shaken. Like it took almost 2-3 hours for I didn't want to tell people that I watched this.
Yeah.
I was scared to tell people that I watched this.
I don't blame you. I mean, 'cause it's one of those things where it's like, I watched it and it shook me to the core, and I had to skip a lot of stuff because it was too disturbing. And it's like one of those things where you don't really want to admit that you've watched the film because it's that bad. It's that nasty that you don't even want to admit that you've watched it. Yeah. It's just it's so crazy. Anything else that you watched that maybe got some of that disgustingness out of your out of your psyche?
That's pretty much it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I left this to last because I don't think I could talk about anything else after this.
I don't blame you, dude. Yeah, and so hopefully though you're able to get some other stuff, other stuff lined up to watch because, I mean, that's just I can't. A lot of people in the chat obviously are have seen a lot of different videos just from the film of reviews of the film, and it's something that it's amazing how 99% of people in the world who know anything about this are against it because it makes sense. Because there is no logic to the other side. And yet there are still these mostly verified check marks, mostly people that call themselves feminists, mostly people that identify in all these different groups that somehow, some way are finding ways to defend it. And I really hope an investigation is looked in and that they're able to do something to hold someone accountable, because the filmmakers are not going to be held responsible because they're from a different country. They made it in a different country and the laws there are different. But, Netflix, having put it out there and having distributed it, probably could have them be looked into for sure.
Yeah, it's really baffling why Netflix did this, considering what happened to YouTube several months back.
Yeah.
When a YouTuber pointed out that you can have kid videos funneled to you through their monetization to the way YouTube works.
Yeah.
And they got in serious trouble for that.
Yeah. I remember that. It's just, that's ridiculous. Well, thank you for sharing the videos that you watched or the movies that you watch. And, at the very least, you got to see There Will Be Blood, which is a classic film and fantastic. So, but thank you very much for being here and for sharing that. All right. Now we have ZK Man. ZK Man, how's it going, man?
All right. I don't know if I can follow up after that.
what you been watching though, and then we'll get into obviously your most recent project and the launch.
Pretty much as far as movies go, went back in time a little bit. Rewatched Heart and Souls with Robert Downey Jr. It's a movie he did back in '93. It was for anybody that's never seen it. It's about there was an accident where you had 4 people pass away in a car accident, and they pretty much became the guardian angels to Robert Downey Jr.'s character. And he pretty much plays a guy that he's pretty much a serious businessman type deal, and he has to help for them to be able to go on to the next life. He has to help them basically write stuff that they didn't get to do when they were still alive. And it has Charlie Gordon, Alfred Woodard, Kara Sedgwick, and Tom Sizemore were the ones that played the guardian angels. And pretty much it's one of those deals where like they got one scene in the movie that I really like a lot. Is it's like they had just got through with helping one of them complete their goal, and it's a scene where they all decide to start dancing in the middle of the street, basically singing "Walk Like a Man." And the weird thing about it is that I'm really not into like it's more of a comedy movie, but but you can also kind of consider it a romance as well. I guess a rom-com, I guess you want. and I'm usually not into those type of movies, but this one I actually really enjoyed, and pretty much it's one of those ones that I think in an interview Robert Downey himself even said that it was probably the one out of all of the movies he's done that was one that he liked the best doing.
Hmm.
He he, he joked around about it in the interviews like, yeah, pretty much he had the same clothes throughout the whole movie, same hairstyle. All he had to do was go in and act, and that's what he loved about it.
Oh, that sounds so simple. That sounds like, especially compared to other roles that people sometimes have to do, that sounds like a breeze.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Very, very cool. So you said that's like the one thing you've been able to watch?
Yeah, other than that, it's just more or less I've caught a couple of trailers for upcoming movies, but that's about it.
Okay. So last time we talked about a couple weeks ago, you were about to launch an album, and since then, it of course has launched. And you were telling us earlier that it seems to be doing pretty well based on the early stats that you have. So talk a little bit about the project and talk a little about the album and what you've been the reaction and the impact you've been getting. I'll share some links if you want to support the K-Man's work.
Yeah, pretty much it's been going pretty good as far as everybody's talking about it. Album itself is called X the Boundaries Best of. It's pretty much most of the songs on there is ones that I've done in the past, like a true best of album. But I've also added a new song plus a couple of instrumentals on it. All the songs are, guess best way to describe it is conscious or lyrical hip hop. That pretty much everything has a message behind it. As far as I guess the best way to describe it is, I guess if you ever heard music from ones like J. Cole or Nas, something like that, ones that they actually put stuff into their songs. It's not all about just going out to the clubs or drugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like this project, all the numbers, there's some places like Apple Music, they're slow to get numbers out there, but like just with Spotify, they within 5 days of going out, they had already started giving me numbers, and I think as of this past Friday, it was like at 170 streams for the album on there. Pretty much, I started this past Friday. I'm doing sort of like a promotional thing, a giveaway to where anybody that it don't have to be the whole album. It can just be like a screenshot of showing that one of the songs have been played. It can be sent to one of my email addresses that can be found on my website, which is xtheboundaries.co, and or you can DM me or tag me on Twitter or Instagram, and pretty much next at the end of next week I'll be doing a drawing, and whoever ends up winning will end up getting an autographed copy of the album on a vinyl record. And so pretty much hopefully album keeps doing good, because for anybody that don't know, for the month of September, all profits will be donated to charity in help in the prevention of suicide. It'd be going might be going to the AFSP, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Very awesome, and I'm so glad to hear that it's been doing very well, and I can't wait to hear other, once more stats come out from iTunes, etc., about how well it's doing. And I'm glad that it seems to be doing pretty well. And again, if you want to help to support his work, and again, he's doing a lot of really good work trying to raise money for suicide prevention, and is someone that's been a longtime supporter of the channel. And it would be really awesome if you could just check out his site. Again, it's been posted a couple times now. Steph has posted it, and also I have posted it as well. Go support the work. Check it out for yourself. And yeah, dude, thank you so much for continuing to do this just awesome work and trying to help people.
Pretty much, I don't know how to do anything else. Pretty much, like I said before in last stream, that I've known people in that position, and pretty much if I can help at least one person from doing the deed, then um, make me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that, we mentioned this last time too. It's something that's become a lot more prevalent during this time of people being locked down and being more isolated socially. And so it's something that definitely needs a lot more attention and definitely needs a lot more support. So thank you, dude, for doing that, for being willing to donate a lot of the stuff that you've been getting to help these people. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to talk about or share?
I mean, if you want, I can talk about a couple of the trailers I've seen.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Got one that it seems like it might be pretty good. It has Vince Vaughn in it, which I've enjoyed some of his past works. It's a movie called Freaky. It's basically, if you've ever seen, based off the trailer, if you've ever seen The Hot Chick with Rob Schneider, where him and a girl got, it's something similar to that, except that in the trailer, Vince Vaughn plays a serial killer, and it's pretty much, it looks like it's going to be one of those like comedy horror things where they kind of make fun of the stereotypes of horror movies and whatnot. And it's got a girl is supposed to be Catherine Newton. Trying to think what she played in before, but pretty much they do the whole cliche, girl nobody ever pays attention to, and then when everything switches around, she becomes the quote unquote hot girl, and that everybody notices, but at the same time don't know that she actually now the serial killer or whatever.
Okay, interesting.
It seems like it's going to might be a pretty, at least worth a watch, even if it's not the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at it right now, and it's called Freaky, and it is what's being labeled as an American slasher comedy film, directed by someone named Christopher Landon, who apparently it's a spin-off film within the Happy Death Day universe, starring Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton, and Jason. It's a Blumhouse production as well.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the director of Happy Death Day. It's supposed to be the same director for this one.
Yeah. And just the way that they describe the characters, Vince Vaughn as the Butcher, an aging serial killer famous for having never been caught. He and Millie trade bodies due to a mystical curse. And then Millie, the high schooler, is a tormented high schooler who trades bodies with a sociopathic serial killer. So it definitely sounds like it could be interesting. And the way these other characters are, one of them is named Nyla, and she's described as Nyla's ultra woke friend. Interesting.
Yeah, you can tell based off of, I think they all do it in a joking manner. It's nothing like they try to push a agenda down or anything like that. But you can tell by that character is like that just based off of some of the lines in the trailer.
Okay. That's always good to hear, because we need a lot more comedies in today's world. We need less, of the nonsense that we're getting.
People, it's more fun.
Be offended, you said?
Yeah, get offended. Have things make your blood boil. It's more fun than being pacified to.
This is true. Well, K-Man, thank you again for sharing everything. And anything else before?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Very, very cool. All right. So we now have Tina. Tina, what you been watching last couple weeks?
Well, since the last stream was not that long ago, I haven't seen that many movies, but I've got 4 that I've caught. A cult classic channel on YouTube ran another D.W. Griffith movie, but thankfully this one didn't have I guess for a reason.
That's good.
Like the last one I saw, this one was called The Love Flower.
Mm.
There's really no actor of note in it except for Richard Bartholomew, who was kind of a sex symbol in, at that time, 1920s. He was one of the founding members of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, known as the Academy Awards. So I don't know what he would think about what's going on now. But The Love Flower is kind of a Les Mis type of movie. Guy goes to prison for something he really didn't do. He gets released. He remarries, has a daughter from his first marriage. The Secret Service agent who got him arrested the first time is just like he's hassling the guy. He even follows the guy to where he's living now, even though the man's not doing anything. But this guy's second wife is committing adultery. He comes in on her and the boyfriend. Him and the boyfriend get into a struggle. He kills the boyfriend. It's an accident, but of course she lies and says, "Oh, he came in here, he killed him." And so this Secret Service agent, it's not like he asks any questions or anything. He just, "Oh, I know he did it. Because he's been to prison before." So the suspect, I guess you call him, and his young daughter escape, go to, I call it Gilligan's Island. Because they're on this, island. There's only one person, and so they stay there. And Richard Bartholomew is a young rich guy, and he's just out sailing around, finds their island, and of course the big bad, the Secret Service agent, he's looking for them too. So it was just kind of an hour or so of just silly time. The scenery was beautiful. I don't know where they shot it, but that was it. I was like, I think Griffith made those kind of little movies so that he could make some money, and then he could go on to make his epics like, Intolerance and Orphans of the Storm. Saw The Matrix Reloaded for the first time since I saw it at the movie.
Oh my goodness. Of all the films to watch, why the Matrix Reloaded?
It was on, and I was like, I haven't seen this movie since the opening weekend the year it came out. So I still couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on, but that expressway scene is still pretty cool, even now. And of course, Keanu was in it, so it's like, it was worth a watch. So, but yeah. And I looked at Kill Bill Volume 1, which is one of those movies when it's on, I have to stop and look at it. So of course, it's always very enjoyable. And I'm like, yeah, see, there was actually a strong female that no one had to tell was a strong female. So take that, Mulan Ray, and all you other and
woke messes.
So the other movie I saw was on YouTube. I didn't even know it was on there until Midnight's Edge was doing a stream about the failed Star Trek Day that I think they decided Star Trek Day kind of happened because they suddenly realized, oh, maybe we ought to have one, and then we can prop up our lousy shows. And Odin, I think I told you, you've had more hits on your videos than some of those videos did. On CBS All Abscess. It was like nobody's looking at that crap. I mean, they would, but you would see a few hits on there because, it's Patrick Stewart or it's Jonathan Frakes. But I was like, I'm looking at this one in the thumbnails and I'm going, is that the guy who played Harry Kim? And it only had like 200 or 300 hits. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are YouTubers that get more hits than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
I've had those moments. One of them was when there was this big announced thing from Freddie Prinze Jr. when he's bashing fandom, and I was going to mock his publicly planned stream, and I got over there and he had 4 people watching. I get more in the middle of the night and stream. And I couldn't even downvote it at that point. I was like, this is pathetic. I feel sorry for him. It's like the kid in a wheelchair.
He's not to get too far off the track, but he's one of those people that he's living off his daddy's name, and his father, rest his soul, was one of the finest comedians I had ever seen. I'm sorry that I don't know why he took his life, but I mean, I'm sure it was a blow to his family. It was definitely a blow to those of us who loved his comedy. But Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, you have A-listers, and Freddie Prinze is somewhere down around Z-lister, I guess. I'm not impressed with him at all.
It literally, because he had posted and posted and posted for like 3 weeks on Twitter, this whole panel, it was supposed to be him and several other actors he's worked with over the years, and it was literally, they had 4 people watching.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my God.
But thanks to Midnight's Edge, they mentioned this towards the end of their stream. They gave the link to a fan film called Star Trek: The First Frontier. And it's on a channel. The creator's name is Kenny Smith. And the fan film, I think, is based on some Star Trek fiction about Captain Robert April and his wife. Now, Captain Robert April, I knew from the Star Trek animated series from the 70s that had pretty much all of the original cast attached to it. And Captain April came on board the Enterprise in one episode, and we find out he was the original captain of the Enterprise. It wasn't Captain Pike, it wasn't Christopher Pike, it was Captain April. So this fan film is based around Captain April. His wife is a Starfleet doctor, and they kind of ran out of money, and because of the beer bug, but they went ahead and posted it. And they posted the film on Star Trek Day. They admitted that they didn't have time to go back to ADR and to do some editing, and so when you listen to it, there are some times when the sound effects or the music is a little louder than the dialogue. It's real Star Trek.
That's awesome.
That's what got me. It's a fracking fan film. And it is, here I go. All right, here I go. It's better than anything JJ has done. JJ with his how many $1 million budget? And this fan film has hit the mark.
Yes, but we all know that JJ, God bless
F JJ. There is nothing. Don't even talk to me about JJ. Don't talk to me about JJ. This is a piece. Right here. This is a man who sat on. Stephanie said to me, "Did somebody make that up?" I said, "No." He sat on Jon Stewart's show and said, "I never liked Star Trek. It was too intellectual for me."
I was trying to make fun of him, and you interrupted my insults.
Because she's talking.
I was 10 years old when I saw my first Star Trek episode, and that was in syndication. It was never over my head. So what's your problem, JJ? What's your problem? This piece of crap sits up. Oh, I was too intellectual for me. You know what Nicholas Meyer did when he made Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan? Meyer was not a Star Trek fan. He went back and looked at all the material they had up to that point and created the greatest Star Trek movie ever made. Mm-hmm. JJ couldn't do that. No, JJ goes on Wikipedia or something. Oh, okay, I need Captain Kirk. Oh, okay, Spock. Oh, he's the guy with the pointy ears. Okay, let me write that down. Oh, lens flares. Oh my God. But when a fan film that ran out of money had me more, I was in more anticipation and hoping that they do a sequel to it without CBS cutting them out. And then you got somebody, oh, I was always more of a Star Wars fan. Well, you're not much of a Star Wars fan either, JJ. Oh my God. No, him, Kurtzman, the one who won the he won the Oscar for Best Screenplay for A Beautiful Mind. And I'm starting to think, okay, who did you fool with in the Academy to win that? And A Beautiful Mind's a great movie. But they're all in JJ's little circle. He's like some kind of demon on a throne, and he sends out his little minions. You take over Star Wars. You take over Star Trek. Oh, and I'm even going to ease a few into the Lord of the Rings production. They don't know crap about Lord of the Rings, but it doesn't matter. I'm J.J. Abrams. Anyway, go watch Star Trek: The First Frontier on Kenny Smith's channel. Oh my God! I mean, that just got me so. I just got so stirred up thinking that these people with limited money hit home on what Star Trek is more than JJ and these pieces of crap that are his minions, especially Alex Kurtzman. And we're just we're not going to use Star Trek for Gene Roddenberry's vision. No, we're going to bail out Black Lives Matters people. Screw him.
Amen.
Oh my gosh. He has destroyed him and Chris Chin thing, who works on Doctor Who. They've destroyed 3 franchises.
Yeah.
JJ's destroyed 2. You DC fans, wait till he takes over DC. Oh my God. Where did he come from? His only claim is, I used to babysit Steven Spielberg's kids. One of Steven Spielberg's kids is a porn director. Now ask me how I really feel.
Well, you okay, Tina?
I'm fine.
Okay, just making sure.
I've never seen somebody like him come into the motion picture industry, and I think it has to be because Spielberg wrote a letter of recommendation for him, and that's why they think he's the greatest. He's not. I know in his brain he thinks he is. The same with Rian Johnson. That's just like, what was it Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park about you're standing on the shoulders of giants. That's JJ and that's Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
And Alex Kurtzman and Chris Chibnall. They are not the geniuses they think they are.
Yeah.
General Wingstar, I'm ranting. I saw a Star Trek fan film called Star Trek: The First Frontier, which I highly recommend. It's on YouTube. And it got me thinking about JJ and how he's destroyed Star Trek. Oh, and then his Into Darkness. I mean, he had the audacity to remake it and then tell those of us who saw the trailer and thought, wait a minute, isn't that Khan? Oh, no, that's not Khan. You're wrong. That's not Khan. And then he had to turn around and say, well, yeah, I shouldn't have lied and said that wasn't Khan. Of course it was Khan. You ruined the greatest Star Trek movie ever made. Oh, I'll subvert their expectations and let Kirk die at the end and Spock survive. I'm brilliant. I'm J.J. Abrams.
I'm so clever.
Just, oh my gosh. But no, I mean, my whole point was the Star Trek: The First Frontier, because, the effects, it's a fan film. I saw people in the comments saying, well, the sound was off. Well, this was off. Well, the costumes didn't. The costumes look authentic to that time period for Star Trek. We are talking pre-original series. I even saw someone with one of the old phasers they used to use that you see in the cage / the menagerie. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's one of the phasers that they used in that. I recognized it. It was true Star Trek. I hope they get money to make a sequel.
Yeah.
And they, like I said, they apologized up front that they didn't get to remix a lot of the sound. And people were complaining about that. And there were times, yeah, the dialogue was being drowned out by the sound. But I was like, you all are a fan film. You have an excuse. What's Christopher Nolan's excuse? He puts out a $200 million movie and half the people said they can't hear the dialogue.
Yeah.
So Christopher, what's your excuse?
Mm-hmm. No, it's a fair point, and especially when when it deals with fan films in general, it's again, you're willing to not hold it to as high of a standard because you know that they're much more limited in their budget. But I think you really got the heart of it, where the creative mindset of those fans, though, is obviously so much more than anything that's been put out by mainstream Hollywood, by the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars they've had to make all these different stories, whether it's in Star Wars, whether it's in Star Trek, or whether it's in Doctor Who, right? That the fans have just been able to show that money does not equal creativity, and that it's creativity that's what's lacking here.
Exactly. But that's why I said, that's why it touched me so much. I even told Sharon was saying she and her husband were trying to decide what to watch Friday. And I said, well, watch this before CBS files some copyright injunction and has it pulled down. Allegedly, they can't, because before CBS came around with these lawsuits and everything, they had already started filming that movie.
Yeah.
So that's why it could run an hour and 20 minutes. But now they have it contractually. If you're going to make a fan film, it can't be any more than like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But when you have a fan film that comes closer to what Trek is supposed to be, and I've mentioned it before, I was a Star Trek fan before I ever knew what a Star Wars was. I was even kind of peed off when Star Wars came out, because I was like, here's another one of these movies trying to, play off Star Trek. Well, I know differently now. I've learned differently then. It's just sad when true fans actually know what Star Trek is, and not this like Lower Drex, as Gary calls it. And they're listening to the reviews of it, and you're like, I feel so bad for the people that are reviewing this, that they are sitting through this so the rest of us don't have to, because nothing in it sounds like Star Trek. They don't understand it.
Yeah. And I feel bad for a lot of the crews behind the scenes as well, because you can imagine there's probably some people working on these movies and on these shows that have probably been in the industry for a long time, maybe even have connections to the original movies or the original shows. And yet they're the ones that, unfortunately, because their job is not in creative writing, is not in the direction of the film or the production of the film, it has to, for some reason, mean that they for some reason have to get dragged along and have to put up with this nonsense and to make stories that they know aren't good, but it's the job that they have to do.
I don't even know. I know Eugene Roddenberry, which I think is Gene's son, is attached to Lord Drex. But I'm like, at no point did you tell these people, this is not my father's vision? You just let them just mock it. It's not even good parody. Parody of Star Trek would be the Orville, which now the Orville is Star Trek. We look at the other stuff and say, no, we don't know what that garbage is. That's make-believe Star Trek. And I'll say another thing. To show you JJ has no clue, I think you had already left the show, Odin, when Gary, I think Tom from Midnight's Edge on Friday Night Tights played the interview with Tarantino, who wants to do a Star Trek movie. I don't think he's going to. And he said he asked JJ explain the Kelvin timeline, and JJ can't do it. He created it and can't explain it. So Tarantino's like, well, how would I? Because Tarantino, if he made a Star Trek movie, it would be set in the only Star Trek universe that there is. That's Gene's.
Yeah.
But if he can't explain what he created, how can you respect something like that? And that's pretty much what Tarantino said. Plus, that Tarantino was saying pretty much what I was. How did you all get this pasty white dude to play Khan? You have Ricardo Montalban in both Stacy, the original episode, and Wrath of Khan, and somehow we devolve into Cumberbatch. Not saying Cumberbatch is a bad actor, but he's no Khan.
Yeah.
There we go.
There it is. Absolutely.
There it is.
Yeah.
So,
And it comes down to where we want just good stories to be told, and you don't need a lot of money for a good story to be told. That's why some of the best stories and movies that we've gotten really in the last 10 years have not been from the multi-million-dollar production budget. It's been mostly from the smaller independent type movies, you know, and there's a lot to be said for that, because you're not trying to twist things in various ways, and you're not trying to, you know, feed your own ego. You know, when you can't explain something that's in a movie that you're making, that's a problem.
That's a big problem, and I think that's what clued Tarantino into. He doesn't have a clue. If he creates something and then cannot explain it to me in clear terms, how the rest of us going to understand this? And it's like, Sharon has said it to you too, Olden. We were willing to give him a chance with Star Trek 2009, which I enjoyed at the time. Into Darkness is where the line got drawn, and it was like, no, not going there. You have corrupted one of the greatest stories that Star Trek ever told. Not going to accept. No. Nope. Not going there. All right. That's all the movies I've seen. So like I said, go to Kenny Smith's channel on YouTube. Even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you might just want to check it out. But it's called Star Trek: The First Frontier.
All right. Very good. So Star Trek: The First Frontier. And I know during a lot of that, so Rosetta, I know you were trying to get in at one point to throw some shade and to throw some hell on JJ. So what were you trying to say?
Like I remember after being yelled over.
No, it was you were doing, I know at some point you were doing the light behind your head for the lens flare.
My entire point was his supposed millions in effects I could do with a freaking $50 phone, but
I know, right? It's crazy that, you know, he's something that it's become his staple, and yet it's such a cheap effect, as you were rightly pointing out.
It's not a cheap effect, it's a failed effect, because literally lens flare is what you get when you don't know how to do filming and photography correctly.
Well, if you subvert expectations, then it can.
You want to subvert your expectations, go visit a peacock and listen to it scream after you look at how pretty it is.
But why would I want to watch anything on Peacock?
No,
the animal.
When they actually cry. And actually, I have to give one thing credit for Peacock, because the second Psych movie is actually really good.
Which one?
And it's they've been making movies for the Psych show.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The second one was released on Peacock about a month and a half, 2 months ago, right before all this happened with me, and I had to come here, and it's actually really good. And they had a lot of stuff that's in tribute to the actor who played Lassie going through his stroke and his medical, and it's tributed to him, and they made the whole thing about him coming back to the cast as he's getting healthier and stuff, and it's really, really sweet, actually.
Oh. Yeah, and that's one of those things too where, you know, it's similar with Netflix, right? You know, we obviously are very critical of Netflix because of, you know, recent things that they've been doing and recent films that they've been promoting, but it doesn't mean that there's not good things on there, right? So same thing with Peacock, where it's become kind of the joke of the streaming wars because it really doesn't provide a whole lot, but that doesn't mean that there's not anything good on there, right? So, and that would be an example.
But what I was just saying is because they're one of the most beautiful, demure-looking birds out there, and when they scream, it's like a cross between a rooster crowing and a freaking siren going off in your ear.
So what you're meaning is that it sounds like a violin, you know, softly playing in the wind.
No. It makes your ears want to bleed from a distance. No.
So, broken violin playing in the wind gently?
Maybe. While the flowers going off or something.
I try to give it something nice, maybe, but no, that sounds about right.
No, they have one of the worst cries of any bird I've ever heard in my life, and I've been around a lot of weird exotic birds.
Well, guess that kind of explains. Horrible. Guess that kind of explains, you know, the streaming service Peacock as well. So a little bit. There's some beautiful things there, but there's also some terrifying things as well.
I kind of feel that way about almost everything in society right now.
Yeah. No doubt about it. All right,
Well,
very
oh,
cool.
no, I'm sorry. I'm half sorry and I'm half not. I mean, I know you said you liked 8mm. I kind of remember.
Not 8mm. That's.
I kind of remember 8mm. Weren't there people in a train flying up into the sky or something? I don't know.
You're thinking of Super 8, not 8mm.
Super 8. I said 8mm. I'm sorry.
I was like 8mm. I don't think that was.
I think that's that Nicolas Cage movie. I kind of liked him. I remember my mother watched Lost and Alias. I never got into either show because I didn't have cable or whatever. And I remember my mom saying Lost was starting to, she called it feel funny. Well, now that we know JJ was attached to it, I understand now why it started to feel funny. Sleepy Hollow, I mean, he started that, and the first season of Sleepy Hollow was great, and then the next 2 seasons just sucked. And it was because he just left them with there was no diagram to how they were supposed to do things, so every episode was just all over the place. Alcatraz, I started out, I liked it, but it only lasted like half a season, and since he was attached to that, I'm like, well, thank God it only lasted half a season. So what he needs to do, he's not going to listen to me. He doesn't care. But if you're going to start a project, stick to it. Or at least leave. Here's what I have in mind. Here's where you need to build off of. Don't just say, okay, well, I'm going to go make a Star Trek movie, even though Star Trek's too intellectual for me. Now, Star Wars, I like Star Wars. Let me give you a Star Wars movie. But you just jump and jump and jump and jump and jump, and you don't have a clue. And to Mr. John Boyega, your boy, as you called him, your boy, JJ, don't be saying anything about him. John, JJ sat at his keyboard and said, I'm going to make Finn a janitor. He's British. He won't get the joke to the janitors. That's a stereotype. John, wake up. Wake up fully and quit trying to protect your boy, JJ. Just saying.
Yeah. Whether he will or not, I think only time can really tell.
Only time will tell. Yeah.
If you mentioned Kurtzman, and I keep going back to the same joke I keep making about him, Alex Kurtzman is the person you give a job to because you don't want them running around on the streets licking strangers.
So are you saying?
Laugh.
So are you saying Kurtzman worked on the Netflix movie Cuties? Because that's what it sounds like.
Well, I was making a window licker idiot joke, but you can go there too if you want.
He looks like he might have. He's got that.
Sounds like it would fit.
Look, yeah.
Yeah, well, if he looks anything like Scotty Boy Mendelsohn, then, you know.
I'm surprised Biden didn't work on Cuties. I mean...
Oh,
whoa.
Who's to say he didn't? That's all I'm going to say about that.
No, he was backstage sniffing people's hair. I mean...
Yeah, that's right. He was sniffing people instead. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I have not heard either candidate's list their opinion on this, but I would actually think it would be interesting to see if both of them were asked like what their opinions were. It would not surprise me if Biden defended it. I'll just put it out there that way.
Well, he would call it freedom of expression, and it wasn't made in the United States, but Netflix still distributed it. I mean, yeah, I might not have went out and picked the poppies to grow the opium, and I may not have been the one who processed it, but I'm the one that's out there dealing it. So. Just saying. As
Fat Steven Seagal beat up Netflix says, Rosetta apparently loves Biden.
No.
Which we know is not true.
If you guys watch, it was about a week ago, Jeff Dunham put out a video mocking the debate between Biden and Trump that's going to have to happen. Oh my God, he did not pull his punches on either. It is freaking hilarious. It also opens with him making fun of the rioters and protesters.
Oh, damn. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting.
Watch it. I please, everybody out there, watch it and share it because we need more offensive humor that doesn't pull punches.
Yeah, Something tells me that we're going to get more of that the closer we get along. And yes, as the Picard says, yeah, you know the thing. Yeah, the thing.
There's like the Biden character's on a shock collar. The wife keeps trying to stop him from saying pervy stuff. And then they got the Trump one. If I'm elected, after the Biden one misspeaks it. If I'm elected, I promise everyone a bootstrap and a whore. I'm in.
what I meant to say.
It's like I'm young at heart. I mean, I still got all my male behaviors. I mean, we all know my daughter's hot from the Trump character and stuff. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It is so bad, but it really, really smacks right at the things that both have done that just make you cringe.
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need comedy that's going to call everybody out and not just
It's great.
one.
It's great.
Yeah. Andrew Hoyle is a member of 430. He said, I never understood why a stormtrooper would mop the floors. It's a fair point. Why would a stormtrooper who is a soldier be given that? Obviously, a ship needs to be clean, but why would one of your soldiers be given that job?
And like I've heard other people say, why would they not use a droid? What are droids for? You know, why would you not have a droid mopping the floor? But no, you've got this black stormtrooper. That's so funny, JJ. You got a black guy to be a janitor.
Oh, don't forget the Asian woman was frumpy and a bad driver and cared more about animals.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yep. It's like no
she's so
self-awareness.
Beautiful. She's so freaking beautiful. If you see her outside of that, how does it make her look that ugly?
I mean, yeah, you look at the red carpet and you're just like, wow, the movie has
That's not the same woman, is it?
You're like, yeah,
you know?
it's like this has not done you any justice at all. Like, why is it that they're not? For some reason, they're just not utilizing. It just, it's ridiculous. But yeah, it comes down to narrative. You know, they don't care about anything other than her being the right. Basically the right demographic that they're trying to fit into their story. They don't know how they're going to fit into the story, which is why the characters usually aren't very well written, but as long as they're there, that's what's important.
Yep.
It is quite sad. No doubt about it. So
again, it's the same argument I've gotten into so many times with people. These supposed allies are always the most condescending, most racist, most sexist. They don't want to support you. They want to speak for you, and you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to speak if you're a woman. You're not allowed to speak if you're a minority. You're not allowed to speak if you're disabled, if you're gay, if you're trans. We're not allowed voices unless we toe the line with their beliefs.
Yep.
It is the most racist, sexist, bigoted thing you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. It's all about right think. You know, if you don't have the right think,
the soft-spoken bigotry
mm-hmm.
of low expectations. Research the history of that term.
Well, also too, I mean, we often think about, you know, bigotry and inequality in the concept of race or gender, but I would say the biggest inequality that exists is actually in the realm of thought and in the realm of opinion. You know, it's amazing how people, no matter what their gender or race is, that they are immediately thought to be lesser than if they hold a certain opinion over another. And that's really what it comes down to, unfortunately. Absolutely. Well, with that being said, let's just go around the horn one more time for any last minute things that people want to talk about or mention. So, Mr. Roy, anything that you want to end with?
I just want to thank pretty much any sane person on the internet that, you know, just called this movie out on Netflix. It's like, yeah, this is bad. I mean, yeah, basically, yeah. Especially Anna, that Star Wars girl, Jane Longbone.
Oh my God.
These people that actually watched the film and actually did an actual review on it.
Yeah, and
not these.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's something where some of these they're getting crap from different sides. You know, there's some going after them because they watched the movie, and it's like, you know, my mindset is, even though I know I don't want to watch it and I don't plan on watching it ever, it's one of those things where someone at some time still needs to be able to tell us exactly what is in it, you know, not just to give us the images or the clips, but to give us the context. And the only way that you can know the context is if you've seen the entire film, sadly. And so that's why I am glad that we do have, as you mentioned, these people that are actually, you know, being able to somehow put up with the film to watch it so that they can give us the context that, because basically this is what they're using is they're trying to hide to say, oh, well, everyone hating on this movie hasn't seen it yet. And so that's how we're going to defend it. And that's how we're going to defend it is that, oh, you're taking things out of context and that's why you're wrong. But it's important to have people like this where they say, no, I've seen the movie and I've seen it in context and it's just as disgusting in context as it is out of context. We need those people. And so that's why, yeah, you're right. Shout out to people like Anna, that Star Wars girl, and all the others that have seen it and have talked about it and have been able to give us that context.
Give credit also because he said it in chat that Gentry said he actually did watch it and was talking to people about what's wrong with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to him.
I couldn't. It's like post-traumatic levels to me, even seeing the ads clips for it.
Yeah.
It made me literally sick.
Yeah.
So at least we have people out there helping word get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could say that it's not an actual comparison. The stuff in the film's worse than the trailers and the stuff you've seen on Twitch or your Twitter.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. And also, I'm glad that it's getting called out now because you have, this just came out a little while ago, but the really disgusting law in California that got gotten put through, it's been assigned into law.
Of course it has.
By Governor Gavin Newsom. And so essentially what it does is that it basically decriminalizes, or not really decriminalizes, but it lessens the years, and it also makes it so that someone is not going to be put on the sex offenders list for having certain sexual relations with minors. So it's disgusting. And just for clarification, a few things that I found disturbing was they said here, additionally, the crimes of sexual conduct with a minor under 14 are punished in a separate code. So basically, if you're 14 or older, you are somehow not going to be protected now in California as much, which is disgusting. And then a couple other things here was that the legislation also assumes teens as young as 14 are capable of fully consenting to sex of any variety with any adult, regardless of sexual orientation. This is a huge problem. And
kill it with fire.
And that's why this movie coming out at the time it is, when actual laws, no movies, actual laws are being passed that put children at risk of being abused in this way. Is important because it's going to help us hopefully be like, yeah, this is actually happening. Let's call it out, not just on Twitter, not just about a movie. Let's actually call it out too with these laws being passed. And Governor Newsom, I think the dude should be investigated for passing a law like this. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I was watching a live stream with Yellow Flash, and he had Nick Recredo on. He clarified what that law is. So apparently, that law applies to gay sex. Straight sex was already legal.
What?
Yeah, the sex with 10-year younger minor stuff. Yeah, that was already legal for regular sex. This law only makes the gay sex illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, legal. Yeah. That's what Nick clarified.
And that's how they'll justify it. That's exactly right there. That's their justification for it, is that, well, there's already a law in the books that does this, and so it's only fair for us to have a law that does. And it's like, no, do you not think with your brain and say, no, the way you make it equal is by making it illegal for them as well, by taking the law away, not adding another law to make more people able to abuse minors. It's for some reason, it's amazing that they cannot get it through their thick skulls, because guess what? They're all a part of it. They're all a part of it. They're all supporting it. And again, that's why it's important that all this crap's getting called out right now, especially as laws like this are being passed, or any laws that have been passed in the past and possibly in the future. Lord, but Mr. Roy, yes, absolutely, shouting out those channels. And Mr. Roy, thank you for being here. Anything else that you want to say, or anyone you want to shout out before we go on to the next person?
That's it. I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, dude, Mr. Roy, thank you again for your support. Thanks for being a part of the D-Live fam, and for being a long subscriber over there, and for being, once again, a member of the panel. I appreciate it.
I don't know if anyone else is having problems. The last 2 times I've been on D-Live, the video cuts in and out.
Oh, no. That's bad.
Yeah, it seems like it's something with D-Live, because when I go to YouTube, it's fine.
Yeah, D-Live used to be the better of them. And so I'm wondering if, because, PewDiePie had an exclusive deal with them for a long time, and now he's on YouTube. So I'm wondering if now they're financially going in a negative direction and maybe they can't support the service like they used to.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it because I don't know if I want to dump any more bits into it or not.
Yeah. So, dude, I understand. I totally get it. All right, Rosetta Allen, any last minute things you want to talk about or say or people to shout out?
Gotta focus myself after what was being talked about. Just to keep focusing on what we can do for things. Keep looking for every small account that's willing to hear people, willing to have discussions. Keep looking for anyone who's got these small campaigns, this dream, this vision for work, and is really trying to help the counterculture with, look at what we're talking about right now. We need this counterculture. It's the only way to try to save the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And just help them any way you can. If you can't support things, if you can't back things, promote them, share them, tell people about them. Just do what you can to stop the Hollywood and literary culture we have right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, speaking about culture specifically, right, it used to be where we used to be able to engage with the culture to help move it. And it's gotten to the point now where it's been taken over in so many different ways and so many different industries by a dominant one that's impossible for us to do so, which is why, as you said, we need this counterculture, right? Because it used to be we could be a part of the culture and that's how we could influence it. Now we need to fight against the culture that we live in because it has become so corrupt, because it has become so negative in a variety of ways, in that it supports just these laws, these movies, these books, right? All these terrible things. And so, yeah, absolutely. The counterculture, especially, right? Fighting against the corruption that we see in our culture today is very important. So absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you once again, Rosetta, for being here. And as I said before, and I'll go ahead and post them again, to the links to the Indiegogo campaigns if you want to support Rosetta's work. So the first one I'll be posting here is for her newest one. So Tilt 2, she's going to be doing the cover art for that one. So please consider checking that out and going to support it if you can. The next one I'll be posting is for one we've talked about before, but she also did the cover art for this one, Street Champion Road Warrior Jake. So again, if you want to support that work and that project, the link has just now been posted. And lastly, the other project that she is still collecting a lot of the pictures for and getting everything set together, and eventually we'll have a launch, will be Eagles, an adventure through photos. Because Rosetta is indeed an avid and passionate photographer, loves filming, or rather loves to photograph wildlife, and has been really amazing showing a lot of the images that she's been able to capture with it. So with that one, you can sign up for the mailing list right now, and once it goes live officially on Indiegogo, you'll get a notification, but also you'll be able to get access to some signed copies as well if you sign up early.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Rosetta, for being here once again. All right. Now we have ZK-Man. ZK-Man, any last minute things you want to say or people that you want to shout out?
Pretty much just want to say thank you for having your streams and allowing us to be on it. Shout out to Valkyrie for the hard work they do trying to keep up with all the BS that goes through in the chat. Pretty much like Rosetta was saying, just go ahead and support everybody that's worth supporting, which is people that's trying to live out their dreams and try to be creative and whatnot, because right now that's pretty much a lot of what we need to counteract all the stuff that's been going on around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, support the projects and support the people that are, it's hard to see it this way sometimes, but the more pure of heart, the people that are not corrupted by the culture, by the industry, because they're the ones that are giving us the best stories. They're the ones that are providing us with the entertainment that we so desperately want. There's a reason why YouTube channels and Indiegogo projects and Kickstarter campaigns and all these things are starting to just are starting to grow so exponentially. And the reason why is because there's this hunger for originality. There's this hunger for content. And yeah, absolutely. Engage with it to whatever degree you're able to, whether it's watching someone, dropping a like on a video, or if you can, financially supporting them. Again, all of these are different ways that we can support these different channels and support these different projects. And one of them, absolutely, I would say, would be the K-Man himself. Again, if you want to help him and also, by extension, help those who are undergoing depression and who need help and need to, someone to speak to, in suicide prevention specifically, please think about backing and supporting his project. I'll go ahead and I'll post the link once again. So it's xtheboundaries.co. Again, that is the website you can go to find the music, to find the album, and to find other ways to support him and how to follow him. And of course, you can follow him on Twitter as well at @TheKman, just like you see in the YouTube channel. You'll see his name pop up there. Just type that in on Twitter and it'll pop up, and you'll be able to follow him there and just make sure you're able to support him. So, K-Man, thank you so much for being here, and thank you again for your work and for trying to help support people that really do need it, especially during a time like this.
No problem. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here again. And then we have, of course, the Valkyrie, Tina. Tina, thank you for being here as always. Tina, any last minute thoughts or people that you want to shout out?
Well, I'll shout out. I know she's not on here right now, but I'll shout out Stephanie, my Valkyrie captain. I was going to originally rant about me seeing the trailer that Netflix has decided that they think they know how to make the movie Rebecca or to remake it. And I was going to rant about that because I know it's been remade since Alfred Hitchcock did his version with Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine, and it's the only movie that Hitchcock ever won an Oscar for.
Mm-hmm.
But all of this stuff about cuties.
Yeah.
I had some PTSD yesterday.
Mm.
I told Stephanie about it. And the reason why I think it kicked in was that I hated thinking about people watching the movie and destroy. I know you saw it, and of course Anna reviewed it. And it's just that filth gets stuck in your head. And I actually had it on my heart the other night. I prayed for Anna because I was like, you don't need to see that. The case I started thinking about when it's kind of everything kicked off. We had case, it was a few years before I retired. And of course I was on overnight. And they homicide called and told us to respond. Well, we have these places where they convert these multi-level old homes they break them up into rooming houses. It's a rooming house. And one of the neighbors called and said they heard a woman screaming. And so the beat officers responded. The suspect was sitting on a sofa looking at TV. He was completely naked and covered in blood. They threw him to the floor, slapped cuffs on him, and started searching the rooms because the neighbor said, I don't know what room it came from. I just heard the woman screaming. The first officer that walked into the bedroom said he thought it was a doll, like a certain doll.
Yeah.
Was on the bed. It was the victim. Mm. And when the tech I was with, she was still in training when we got there, and she kind of said to me, Tina, have you ever seen anything this bad? I said, no, I've seen worse, but it was the reason why it was done and everything. This guy had been to prison before for molesting his young cousins, and they kept letting him out. So now here he is in our hometown living in this rooming house. He picks up this woman who is on crack. They go back to his place, and he murdered her with a 16-inch sex toy. God. When they did her autopsy, they said her organs weren't even where they were supposed to be because she was so tiny.
Oh my God.
He was a Satanist, and we know this because we collected his satanic Bible, his other things that he had done. He was an artist. And here's where I think the PTSD kicked in with me yesterday when I heard Anna talking about it. And then I saw Mr. Roy said he had seen cuties. The homicide detective who was the lead we collected all his drawings because that was going to play into the case.
Yeah.
And she said, I need for you to photograph each one individually. After a half hour, that filth was getting into my head.
Yeah.
He liked to draw himself as a demon, and he was always taking control of women in each drawing. Like I said, after 30 minutes, this was starting to seep into my head, and I finally went out to my desk, and one of the texts from the shift that was coming on, she was like, anything I can do? And I said, I can't look at those pictures anymore. All I'm seeing in my head are those pictures.
Yeah.
And I said, would you mind? Take my camera. I'm not going to put you in a report. Just take my camera and try to photograph as many as you can. I have to get away from. She didn't mind at all because we did that sort of thing for each other.
Yeah.
There were people that worked child cases that they were like, I can't look at the pictures. Would you upload the disc to the computer for me? When that tech came back out, she was like, I'm done, but oh my God. So she knew what I was starting to see in my brain. And especially having worked the scene as well. They took those pictures to a psychologist, a forensic psychologist at the University of Louisville who analyzed them. They couldn't even show those images on the news. They had to blot them out. But the psychologist said, yeah, this goes to him wanting to take authority. He sees himself as this demon entity. But yeah, I was just like, I think, and Mr. Roy, I don't know if you're religious or not, but I will pray for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to think about anybody saying that filthiness in their brain.
Yeah.
I worked so many of these cases where people hurt children and they murdered them, and now they're trying to pretend like this is some kind of art. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You don't do that to a child.
No, not at all. And I think that that's something that, you know, these so-called artists wouldn't even think about. You know, they wouldn't even consider the kind of things that they are, you know, again, this twisted director thinks that she's doing something that is to call out the sexualization of kids, and she doesn't realize that by doing the exact thing that she claims to be fighting against, that all she is doing is perpetuating it even more. And all she is doing is feeding the people. And as you said, with this one guy, right, obviously he was someone who was very messed up mentally, psychologically, and I would argue spiritually as well, probably something going on there. And, you know, it's this kind of thing and these images and this kind of filth that's going to inspire others and is going to, you know, feed the evil that is in other people. And they don't even have a perception of it. And even and if they do, they don't care. And either way, it's evil. Either way, it's wrong. Whether you know that what you're doing is being consumed by people, by sick people, and that for you don't care or you don't know, either way, it's either negligence on your part or it's being done on purpose. And either way, it's something where they need to be held accountable and responsible.
Well, and if she, like I was saying earlier, if this is supposed to be about her talking about exploitation, and Mr. Roy would know, having seen the movie, Anna was detailing it. This girl, the Ami or Amy or whatever her name is, if this is based on something for real, this child needs to be taken to a psychiatrist and dealt with immediately. Because, like I said, Dahmer was eviscerating animals when he was a child, and his parents did nothing. Now we know what happened with Dahmer. Bundy said he was exposed to loads of pornography, and we know what Bundy became. Manson was just. I studied his case history before. He was just out of it, but. I just think that was what hit me, and I was sharing that with Stephanie, because Stephanie, in her job, she's seen a lot of this stuff too, so she knew where I was coming from. But no, you can't show this stuff and pretend it's art, and then you're going to get insulted and fling insults at people. Well, something must be wrong with you. No. No. You're the one that needs to be examined.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say. But no, Mr. Roy, I will pray for you, and I'm continuing to pray for Anna, because I'm just like, anybody that has seen this, just so that they can say, yeah, stay away from it. You just don't want that in your head. And I mean, that case, that was like 7 or 8 years ago, and it just hit me out of nowhere yesterday.
Absolutely. You know, there's just things that people, and we're talking about a little bit in the chat too, where just there's things that people just don't know, you know, what exists out there. Lord Toth says that he's worked tech crime investigation, has worked in child exploitation for years. Says he guarantees that this kind of stuff feeds the evil, as you say. I have fought this for over a decade and a half. And also others who say, you know, there's so many things that we couldn't even imagine what cops have to look at. We couldn't even imagine law enforcement, what people have to look at on a daily basis, because, you know, and it's one of those, there was a video that came out, you know, it was one where it was featuring, oh my goodness, I'm blanking out on her name. She's married right now to Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively. Blake Lively was speaking at an event specifically about child abuse, and specifically about the exploitation, especially sexual exploitation of kids. And she was talking about how she was, you know, getting to know so many different cops and people working in law enforcement, and how she was being told these things about what there are people, there's evil out there where, you know, that will drive people to not just, you know, we're dealing in this case, right, with 11-year-olds, which is already bad enough. It's already bad enough. But that there's even others that are so impacted, that are so disturbed, that, you know, we're talking about like infants. And so Blake Lively is getting emotional because she's like, I was being told that, you know, my newborn child could be the victim of somebody, because there are people out there that are so disturbed that that's how they feed their desires. And so there are things that we don't know. There's things that we don't see. And so God bless anyone working in law enforcement. God bless anyone who has to work on any of these investigations, who have to see the things they have to see. And as you've been saying, right, that obviously we can only imagine the things that stick with you. You know, the fact that these images alone are disturbing us should hopefully drive us to, one, pray for all of those people who are being utilized in this way. Pray for these kids who are in this movie, who were either themselves thinking that all they're doing was an acting job. Their parents were obviously, you know, saying, oh, it's an acting job, and not realizing just the damage that's going to be done to their character, the damage that's going to be done to them in general, and how there are real kids who are being treated in this way, and even worse, and even younger.
Yes.
So.
Well, anyway, to all of you all to have kids, take care of them. I mean, you don't have to be helicopter parents, but take good care of them and everything. But no, as far as this piece of filth, just I mean, I don't even have Netflix anymore. I keep joking, I wish I had it so I could cancel it and tell them why. But no, just stay clear of it if you can. Oh well.
Absolutely.
But that was kind of my rant, and was kind of a catharsis. And I told Steph I didn't know if I was going to talk about it or not, but it just kind of hit me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah, it needs to be. You know, it's one of those things where we need to get it out there. We need to talk about it, because again, some of these people just, they either are ignorant of it or they don't care, and either way, that's a problem. You know, whether you're ignorant or whether you don't care, in either situation, there's a problem with you, and it needs to be called out, that it needs to be addressed. And we need this stuff to be talked about. We need this stuff to be exposed. And that's why, absolutely, for those that are watching this movie, just so that we can know exactly what it entails, that's the kind of stuff that we need in order for us to be able to call this out as fully as possible. And also, not just praying for anyone that's had to watch it, or anyone that's seen these images and are being haunted by these images, but I have to pray for anyone defending this movie. I have to, because there's obviously something wrong with these people. There's obviously something disturbed about these people, that they would be willing to defend it in this way. And they need it for sure. Prayers all around. And obviously, Tina, thank you for sharing that. I know that wasn't easy. And for everyone on the panel, I know that, all of us have different backgrounds, different stories, different histories. And, this is the kind of thing that can definitely, bring up some emotions and bring up certain things. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing everything that you've been sharing, and for joining me again. And unfortunately, as Stephanie B has been saying, we need puppy cam right now. And sadly, the puppies,
Yes, we do.
sadly, the puppies are no longer with me. There's the kitty. We got kitty cam. There we go.
Kitty cam. There
Kitty
we go.
cam. So let me.
To make me feel better.
There we go. So let me highlight that. That way we can see the little kitty. Yeah, little kitty. Animals are definitely something that can help us get through some of the worst things because they can always sense emotions. And when they're upset, they are the ones that can help us. So sometimes when human beings are no worse, as far as like, capacity and as far as, the ability to have, will, it's amazing how humans can be worse than animals sometimes and how animals can be so much better than humans. And obviously this little kitty cat is one of the good ones.
Look at her hugging me.
Yeah. Little kitty. And then there's a little kitty behind you in the sun glowing, hopping from looking at the birds again, saying, I think I want to play with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, shout out to Mr. Roy, to Rosetta Allen, to ZK Man, and to Tina for joining me, for being supporters, for being my chosen of Valhalla. Also, of course, a shout out to Laura, who had to leave early because she's spending time with family, watching some football, trying to get her head off of just some of the madness and craziness going on. And that's what I would say to everyone. Obviously, there are a lot of things that we talked about today that, again, need to be talked about. But also our things can sometimes bring us down too. So I recommend to everyone to go maybe either watch a movie, TV show, live event, something that is, going to brighten your day, something that's going to distract you. If I had to recommend anything, I, of course, would go straight to things like Back to the Future because of just pure entertainment, gold, and yeah, definitely find something fun to watch. And, of course, if you have a pet, hug it. If you have a loved one, hug them, tell them you love them. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone watching and dropping the like, and everyone here sending their love. Angry Mango, Andrew Hoyle, Lord Toth, Hardwick has been in the chat, Keely Chow, John Platt, Stephanie B for being here as well, sending those hearts earlier for Tina, Caleb Crawford, Kigo Rogers, Soul Assassin, Peter Han, Kigimus Prime, General Wingster, 13th Warrior, everyone who's been, Mr. Roy, Soul Assassin, everyone who's been in the chat today. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, let's find those things that bring us joy. Let's find those things that bring us peace, and let us know that tomorrow when we wake up, we will be a part of the movement, part of the, as we've been saying, the counterculture, to fight against the madness, to fight against the nonsense, and to still at the end of the day be able to enjoy the life that we have with the good people and the good things that exist. And Lord Toth, of course, throwing in the shade at the end. Get your pineapple on pizza out of here, Lord Toth, with your glass of wine nonsense.
Look at this.
I know, that little kitty being so sweet.
Oh.
Yeah. And as Alex McCarthy says at the end, 1.21 gigawatts. Yes. Great Scott. 1.21 gigawatts. But anyway, you guys are awesome. Yes, indeed. Laughter is good. Laughter is healing. Laughter is life. So go check out some of the videos that people have been talking about today for YouTube. Some entertaining stuff that we've been talking about. And thank you once again to the chosen people. Seriously, Laura, Mr. Roy, Rosetta, ZK Mantina. Thank y'all for being here. And with that round of response from the you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Thank y'all for being here. Smash like on the way out. And yes, find something like cat videos, dog videos, whatever it is. If you want, you can go back in time and watch some of my old streams where I'm in a Wookiee onesie. And even better, to see the one where I'm building a computer, pulling my hair out. That's why I'm bald now. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my September Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Camille, Lady T, Laura the Modern Major General Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my supporters over on Patreon. And to my Subscribe Star members, stand for John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888-209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and the K-Man. Thank you so very much for being my supporters over on Subscribestar, and a shout out to all of my supporters on both platforms. If you yourself want to get your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You can also get access to exclusive giveaways, to an exclusive podcast that I do twice a month with my friend John the Flick Pig Flickinger, where we talk about just random stuff going on in the movies, our reviews, and also we take Q&A questions from everyone as well in those categories. So if you would like to have any of those things or access to them, or even the biggest of them all, to be one of my chosen of Valhalla and get a t-shirt during your first month, and also have access to be featured on the channel once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, please consider checking that out in the links in the description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.